What is going on? Let me refresh my computer here. All right, we're live. Oh, all right. Let me turn my volume down, switch over to live chat. Let's see who the first is to comment. We already got one thumbs up. All right. Got Bobby here on the live stream. What is going on? All right. Hey, first comment, Moonstone, etc. What is up? There's definitely a lag over here on my computer. What's up? Gaming with Psyche. What's up? Let's see. All right. What is going on? So today I think I'm going to go for about an hour again, maybe an hour and a half today. We'll see how it goes on the live stream here, see if we can get a lot of people in. So far it looks like we got 7 people. All right. What is going on? All right, we got everything set up here. Yeah, I think YouTube's a little bit slow. Usually I have like 50 people by now. What is up, Area 51 Morse? What is going on? My Animal House, hey, how's it going? What's up, Joe Gray, Fishing for Life? Favorite ball python you own other than your bamboos? I would say probably my favorite ball python is probably my pinstripe. Bubbles is my big female pinstripe. She is super friendly. As a matter of fact, I think she's friendlier than Bobby, which is kind of crazy. What is up, Boom Exotics? Let's see. Hey, Chris, first breeding season. Still waiting for my pre-lay shed. Awesome. Thoughts on the nidovirus? Yeah, hopefully I don't get that virus in my ball python collection. I know a lot of guys actually do a lot of testing on that virus, but I haven't really tested, haven't had a problem at all with my snakes. And I know it can be pretty deadly if it actually goes through your collection, which is kind of scary. Oldie in the house. What is going on, Odin? Decided to build my own incubator from a monstrous cooler. I'll let you know how it goes. Awesome. Yeah, you can actually make a pretty good incubator from a cooler, which is pretty awesome. It's also your first season. All right, nice. Yeah, so this is actually, this will be my 4th season. So I've been into it about, so this is actually will be my 4th year with hatchlings, which is pretty amazing. I haven't really been into it that long. I feel like I'm kind of a newbie when it comes to ball pythons, as far as, you know, having the seasons of hatchlings behind me compared to a lot of guys that have been doing it for like 20 some years, which is kind of crazy. Do you have any tips on getting a male to lock? So it's kind of interesting when you have males. A lot of times, a lot of people kind of peek in the tubs to see if their males are locking with their females. What I do is I just put the males with the females, close up the tub, and I don't even look at them after that. I pretty much ignore them. Some people say, hey, I'm not really seeing my males lock up. But what I've actually found is sometimes the males will lock up for just like an hour or two, which is kind of crazy. Hey, I got my first super chat. All right, 4 minutes in. Thank you, Earl Austin. Thank you a lot. That is awesome. The cows appreciate it. All super chats go to feed the cows. The cows are eating me out of house and home. I actually have 4 cows now, which is pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking about showing you the little calf that I have. Little baby Hercules is getting pretty big, doing really good. He's my replacement bull calf. So as far as getting a male to lock, what I would actually do is I've actually seen some people well, they'll actually take one male and put it with another male, and they kind of spar a little bit. You kind of have to supervise them just for a couple minutes to where they're almost like fighting just a little bit. And then what you do is you take the male that you want to breed to the female, take it away from the first male and put it with your female. And sometimes a little bit of sparring up at front can actually stimulate your males to lock with the females. Another thing I've actually seen is you can actually take the male, put it with the female, and then take a shed from another male, then put it in with that male and the female. And for some reason, the male can kind of smell the shed from the other male. Sometimes that'll kind of get them going too. And I've also heard if you have males that are too big, like really super overweight males, sometimes they can be a little bit stubborn. Like Bobby here, he is probably one of the biggest males that I've actually seen. I would say if I probably bred him to something, well, this guy, he actually breeds really well. But I'd say if you had males this big or bigger, sometimes I've heard that they can be a little bit stubborn too. All right, so hey, got another super chat. Thank you, Anna. How is the spider pied ball python doing? I actually sold that little tiny spider python. It was really super small. I was actually feeding it live mice, and it was eating right out of the chute, which is pretty crazy. It was like the smallest hatchling that ever hatched out. It was like a spider pied pastel. I think it was yellow belly, het albino. It had some crazy genes in it. But someone actually messaged me on one of my videos and said, hey, I want to buy that thing. So I actually ended up selling that one. I just have 2 holdbacks for the year. All right, let's see. All right. What do I think about the red stripe? I actually did a video on the red stripe. It's a pretty amazing gene. It's one of those ones I think it's kind of undiscovered as far as kind of the mainstream. Not many people are working with the red stripe. Let me come down to the bottom. Let's see. I've heard if you put 2 males and 1 female, like you can retics, but I don't know about that. So I would avoid putting 2 males together during the breeding season because they can fight pretty bad. I'd probably put them together just for a little bit and then keep them separated. I've actually heard of people doing 1 male with 2 females in the same tub, but I don't know if you'd kind of spread them out too far if you actually did that. I'd probably just do 1 male and 1 female per tub during the breeding season, and then in the off season, definitely keep the males and the females separated. All right, hey, what recessives would you recommend trying to get into as a breeder? I've been looking at the monarch gene. Yeah, so if you can afford the monarch, I would definitely get into the monarch. Hey, got another super chat. Thank you, Joe Gray. Awesome. Yeah, definitely monarch would be a really good one to invest in, but they're really super expensive. I'd say most people would actually recommend getting into the pieds and the clowns for a beginning breeder because they're reasonable. You can actually make some really amazing combinations. And a lot of people know the true potential of the pieds and the clowns. So a lot of people are really buying into them. And I would think monarch, I would say, the monarch's not really that mainstream. It's really visually dominant, kind of like an albino, but the market for that is so small. I would think that you could do really well because not a lot of people are actually breeding the monarch. So that would be a really good one. All right, let's see. Do you think the monarch gene can mix with other colors? Yeah, it can be pretty visually dominant. What I would actually try to do is try to do like a monarch pied. I don't think I've ever seen a monarch pied, which would be pretty cool. Or a monarch clown. That's probably what I do with the monarch. Go for the double recesses. As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking I'm actually working on a triple het project in the albino pied clown, and I've been thinking about maybe doing another recessive to go with that. So I was thinking of something really high end. The monarch would be pretty awesome. I could actually make some like quadruple hets or something, which would be pretty awesome. Yeah, monarch pied, awesome. Let's see, that's one I'm into, is pieds and clowns. 3 visual pieds, 3 het pieds, 2 visual clowns. Awesome. Yeah, pieds and clowns are definitely the way to go. Should I increase the size of the male for the female for follicle growth or just feed extra of the same size? So you kind of have to be careful on the sizes of what you're actually feeding your females. If you feed one that's too big, Sometimes I've actually seen some females where they'll eat one that's super huge. Sometimes you run the risk of regurgitation, and then sometimes if they eat one that's a little bit too big where they don't feel comfortable, sometimes it can put them off of food on your female. So what I would actually do is I'd feed kind of like, probably the maximum is the thickest size of the snake as far as the rodents. And then after they eat, I'd actually take a look at them and see if they're looking pretty good. If they're looking really super fat, I probably wouldn't feed again. But if they're actually looking for another rodent, I'd probably follow up with a second one. And sometimes I'll do a third one, but usually I found if you do 3 rodents back to back in the same week, a lot of times you run the risk of regurgitation with 3 rodents. And it seems like once they start throwing up their meals, then you kind of run into like a kind of a repeat incidence where they'll throw up additional meals after that. Sometimes I don't know what happens to them. It kind of messes them up though. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the Marvel? So I haven't done a morph review on the Marvel. I'll have to look into that one. What do you feed your adult African soft furs? So I actually got into African soft furs again about, I think it was about a year and a half ago. I bought 1 male and like 4 or 5 females. And for some reason, there was a problem with my male or something where they never bred and they never had babies and they just kind of grow old. They pretty much reached the limit of their lifespan at about a year old, and I fed them off to my snakes. I don't know what's going on. But usually when I breed African soft furs, I'll feed them the Missouri rodent breeder diet. It's specific for any kind of rodent. It's pretty much the only thing you have to feed any kind of mice or rat. What's the best frozen for live pinkies for hatchlings? What's the best frozen or live pinkies for hatchlings? So yeah, so when it comes to Ball Python hatchlings, you actually want to go above pinkies. You want to do like the mouse hoppers right from the get-go. The pinkies are actually too small unless you have a really super tiny, unusually tiny snake. But you know, for when I first have hatchlings, it's pretty much the only thing that I found that they reliably will eat is live mouse hoppers on a regular schedule. If I actually try to do the frozen thawed right from the egg, a lot of times they actually won't take them unless it's kind of interesting with sometimes it's hard to get them to eat. Is that Bobby? Yes, this is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. He is doing great. Actually, he just set out not too long ago, so he's looking pretty good. Do I feed my adult snakes African soft furs? No, I actually don't. What I actually do, once in a while, I'll breed some African soft furs. And what I'll actually use those for is some of my picky feeders, like the females that are fasting for a really long time. Sometimes I'll kind of trick them into eating African soft furs and then follow up with like a regular rat after the African soft furs. I've had some snakes that won't eat for a really long time. It seems like the ASFs will really put them back on food. All right, I'm getting a 6-month-old female, black pastel cinnamon in about 2 weeks. Any tips for getting them settled, adjusted, and socialized? Yeah, so when you first get a snake, some people say to not hold them, and I'm kind of mixed on that. And personally, I prefer to hold my snakes right when they come out of the box. And it seems like if you hold the snake for like an hour, hour and a half, just kind of straight through, it seems like it really tames them down. I definitely hold them until they, a lot of people will hold them when they're balled up, but you definitely want to wait until they kind of relax and start crawling around as far as setting the timer, as far as when they're kind of getting comfortable with you and the whole situation. So yeah, if you have hatchlings especially, I would definitely socialize them as soon as possible. How old does a ball python female need to be before you breed it? So it doesn't really depend on age. It really depends on the size of the female. So females should be at least 1,500 grams. And that's because if you have a female that's too small and it actually starts developing eggs, sometimes the eggs can be too big for that female to pass those eggs, and potentially the female could die from those eggs. So you definitely have to wait until it's, I've actually kind of cut it close. Probably the smallest female that I've ever bred was about 14, I think it was like 1,450 grams. And it seemed like it was fine right at that point, but that's kind of cutting it close too. But I definitely wait till 1,500 or bigger. Let's see. My snake hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. She's a ball python. What should I do? Yeah, 2 weeks is no big deal for a ball python. Let me tell you, they can go for months without food, unless it's a really small hatchling. I would say if it hasn't eaten in 2 weeks, and it's like 100-gram hatchling or 150 grams, 200 grams, something like that, I would probably go back to live mouse hoppers or some live mice to get it back onto food, and then switch over to like a frozen thawed mouse until you get them to, I'd say maybe about 400 grams or something like that, and then go to frozen thawed rats from there. But usually if you have like a full-size snake like Bobby here, he'll go, sometimes he'll go for months without eating, and it's not a problem at all. He won't even lose weight. It's kind of wild with ball pythons, but you have to make sure they have clean water at all times. But as far as the food, it doesn't really matter that much. All right, yeah, so we got a lot of questions. There's no way I can answer all these questions. I need to speed up here. All right, hey, what is going on? Welcome, Moonstone, etc., to channel membership. Welcome to Big Fan. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, 2 weeks is nothing. All right, how long do you think you'll have your first eggs? That's a good question. So my first eggs, hey, we got another super chat. Thank you, Benjamin. All right. So all the super chats go to feed the cows. The cows are eating me out of house and home. Yeah, I have 4 black Angus cows that pretty much are just pets at this point. Haven't eaten a cow yet, so they're just kind of my YouTube. I kind of put them at the end of some of my YouTube videos. All right, let's see. All right. Let's see. How long do you think you'll have your first eggs? Let's go back to that question. So probably thinking maybe another month before I get my first eggs. So I'm not quite sure. I know some of them look like they're really super big, like I get eggs any day. And what I'll probably do, probably in a couple days here, I'll go through my whole collection, ultrasound all my females to kind of get a better handle on when I can expect eggs. I think about a month ago, some of my biggest ones were about at 30 millimeters, just kind of randomly going through my collection. So I'm thinking maybe 40, 45 as far as what they are today. So probably pretty soon here, maybe in a couple of weeks, which would be pretty awesome. All right, let's see. Wow. Do you have any suggestions on what to pair with my banana 66% het clown? Yeah, I would definitely breed that to a clown or a het clown to get the banana clowns. The banana clowns are pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, I actually have a banana Anchi clown, and I'm pretty sure the banana Anchi clowns are still selling for quite a bit of money, and the banana clowns are going for quite a bit. So I definitely do. You can actually do, as a matter of fact, you could probably do something that's like a het clown, like 100% het clown with other genes in the mix. Maybe do like a het clown, Anchi leopard or something like that, and shoot for some more genes into some clown combinations. As a matter of fact, what you could actually do is go over to morphmarket.com, look for the most expensive clown combinations, and then kind of pick those genes where you can make some really high-end combinations, and then get a het clown with those genes in the mix. That's probably what I would do. Do you have an Instagram? No, I don't have an Instagram. I just pretty much do YouTube only. I did Facebook for a little bit, and the problem is I just don't have, I don't know, I barely have enough time to put out a video every single day here on YouTube. Let me tell you, with all the animals and everything, it keeps me super busy. So I really don't have time for anything else. I tried Facebook for a while, and it was just too much. I had like, within 2 weeks, I had like 5,000 friends, and then I tried to set up like a business account where you could get followers instead of friends, and then I had like 2 separate accounts, and it got really super confusing. Hey, we got another super chat. All right, Growther Goat, thank you. What is your opinion on microscale versus scaleless? I know you're very big on the scaleless. Do you have any plans for microscale? So it's kind of interesting because micro scale is really similar to scaleless. As a matter of fact, if you actually took a completely scaleless that you make with the super scaleless head and compare it to a completely scaleless made from the micro scale, they look virtually identical. Although I have seen on some YouTube videos where on the super micro scale, they're actually missing the heat pits on the front of the mouth, which is kind of interesting. So if you actually look at Bobby, he has little tiny pits right on the end. You can see these little tiny like holes in the end of his nose right there. And those holes are actually they're actually thermal. He can actually see in the dark. And if you have a super micro scale, it's missing those, which is kind of interesting. I saw a thing, I think it was Kevin McCurley and Brian Barczyk comparing the difference between the super scaleless head and the super micro scale, which is kind of interesting. Let's see. All right. Current breed dogs. How many ball pythons would someone need to get into breeding? Well, in order to get into breeding, you need at least one male and at least one female. I actually did a video on how to make money fast with ball pythons. And what you could actually do, the fastest way to get into it would be to go over to Morphmarket and sort by females by the oldest birth and look at some of the ones that people have been sitting on. Sometimes you can actually get normals or like a big Anchi female or something like that someone has kind of had tucked away in their collection that they're just not breeding, that is ready to breed. And sometimes you can buy one like that is ready to go, and then buy a male, and then within no time at all, you can actually take like a multi-gene female, breed it to that, and within 1 year, you can actually get a bunch of hatchlings and then use that money to buy more snakes and reinvest in the hobby. That's probably the quickest way you can actually do it. But really, you only need 2 snakes to actually jumpstart it. Hey, we got another super chat. All right, Judge Mark Records. Let's see. All right, here we go. Yeah, I kind of have this like it disappears from my phone and it doesn't come up down here on my laptop as quick. So I have this like lag between my phone. All right. Judge Mark says I have 2 females that hiss every time I pick them up. Do any of yours do this consistently? How often do you get bit taking care of your snakes? So I actually had a few that hiss quite a bit, and a lot of times actually hiss because you really don't handle them enough. And if you can actually really pick them up and handle them, every time you open the tub, except for when you're feeding, you can actually tame them down pretty good. I only had 1 ball python that I've ever had that I really couldn't actually tame down, which is kind of crazy. Hey, we got another super chat. All right. Thank you, DC. Hey, again, I tried pairing my male and female again. Didn't see the lock, but on the 3rd day, they were lined up. Do I give up this season? No, definitely not, because a lot of times, I'd say probably 90% of the time, I don't see a lock between my males and my females. And when I first started breeding ball pythons, it's kind of interesting because I was like peeking in the tub like a lot of people do. And I was like, hey, none of my snakes are breeding. And come to find out, a lot of them actually bred because I had a lot of hatchlings. Got another super chat. Thank you, Benjamin. All right. Let's see. Let's wait for it to come up down here. All right. What is your opinion on belly heat or back heat? Pros and cons. Is there a problem doing either one? I've been studying between the two and can't really make an opinion of my own. So yeah, so if you actually buy professional racks, like the racks behind me, these are actually ARS caging racks. They all have belly heat on the very back of the tub. And I've actually seen some people where they'll do heat on the back, but I don't think I'm not sure if it's really as effective as you would have on the belly heat, especially for a big ball python. So if you actually look at Bobby here, especially with a big snake like this, I'd find it kind of hard to have back heat on a big snake like this. So keep in mind, if you have a snake that's really big like this, and if you actually just want to run one little strip right on the back, along the back of the snake, I would think that if it actually had some rodents like inside the belly up here, it'd be hard to really heat it just from a strip in the back. Although I haven't really worked with the heat from the back And it'd be kind of interesting to see the back heat as far as, I don't know if Bobby's, I can stretch him out again. Come on, Bobby. You're like all bald up here. All right. But what I'd actually like to see is someone with like a back heat setup and then take a temperature probe and kind of see how much of that heat is actually getting in the tub and further up to where you can actually get that heat on the ball python. That's kind of what I'd like to see, versus just kind of making a decision back heat versus belly heat. But I would think that the belly heat would definitely be better for the ball python. All right. I really want to get into a dreamsicle project. Yes, dreamsicle is definitely, so keep in mind the dreamsicle is a double recessive. So the odds are pretty slim, unless you're breeding dreamsicle to dreamsicle, that you can actually produce another dreamsicle. I think if you actually take two double hats and breed them together, I think your odds of getting a dreamsicle are like, I think that's 1 in 16. So it would be like every other clutch, you would end up with one dreamsicle, unless you actually took like a visual to a double head or something like that to increase your odds. If you could pick one new gene to invest in, what would it be? So yes, my next gene that I think I'm going to get into is either the acid, the static, or the confusion, which all three genes, a lot of people think the three genes are pretty much the same thing. And it kind of acts like leopard on steroids, which is, it kind of really shatters the whole pattern and it really darkens the background. So it's pretty awesome what those genes can do in a lot of combinations. So right now they're really expensive. I think the cheapest one I saw was like anywhere from 1,000 to like 1,500 just for a single gene animal. So I'm sure it'll come down really fast on those because it's a co-dominant where you can just breed it through your collection really quick. But that's probably the next thing that I'm going to get into, is one of those. All right, let's see. Just got a banana enchi spider het clown female that should be ready to breed next season. Nice. All right. How do we see your snakes for sale? A lot of people have been asking, hey, where are your snakes for sale? I actually don't have any snakes for sale right now. If you go to my Morphmarket store, it's pretty much a blank slate. And it seems like every time I post a snake over there, it sells within like 1 or 2 days. It's kind of crazy. I can produce so many more snakes. It seems like a lot of people have actually, you can, as a matter of fact, you can actually sign up over there to follow me on Morphmarket. And then every time I post a snake, it'll pop up in, I don't know if it's your email or what, but it seems like a lot of people are watching me and following me over on Morphmarket, which I didn't even realize that you could do. All right, any new collabs coming up in future videos? No, so I really don't do any collaborations as far as that. So I've actually, yeah, so I kind of stay away from collaborations. I've seen some that kind of go south really fast, where, you know, one person live is like beating up another one or talking down to him or something, and there's a lot of conflict as far as, you know, being live and having that conflict in there. It's almost like you want to collaborate with someone you already know and trust before you actually get on live with like hundreds of people and start, you know, talking about different things in a collaboration. So I haven't really found anyone that I'm comfortable collaborating with at this point without, you know, being on YouTube and then getting roasted for 2 hours or something like that, which I've seen, which can be pretty brutal. Let's see. Don't pair a spider and a woma. Both have a wobble. So yes, it's kind of interesting. The spider and the woma, as a matter of fact, you can actually make a spider woma. I've actually heard reports of that combination where they don't have a wobble, but you have to keep in mind that both genes are in what they consider, well, I used to call it the spider complex, and people are like, wait, it's not really the spider complex, it's the wobble complex, I guess you would call it. Both have a potential for wobble, so it's probably not a good idea to actually breed them together, although I have seen some woma spiders that are pretty amazing as far as the visual appearance. Is an ultrasound machine absolutely necessary for breeding? So yeah, so I can actually give you a link for an ultrasound machine. Actually, every now and then I'll actually put one in my my videos. Probably the best place to get one is over on Amazon. You can get them for about $1,000 for pretty much the cheapest ultrasound machine that I've seen. but I don't really use my ultrasound machine that much. I just, as a matter of fact, I really don't need my ultrasound as far as the way I'm breeding. So I basically pair up my males and my females on October the 15th, and then just kind of keep cycling my males through for about 5 months, and then just pretty much call it good. And whatever goes, whatever female goes. As a matter of fact, if you're actually doing like a year-round breeding system, that's when an ultrasound machine would really come in handy, where you could really maximize the amount of eggs you get from your females. But I don't really think you need an ultrasound machine if you do kind of like a seasonal breeding. Just pair up your males and your females. And if your females get really super fat and they're not eating, they're going to go and they're going to lay eggs. I'm waiting for your bamboos. I need some bobby babies. Yes. So I actually have, as a matter of fact, I actually have a lesser bamboo that I'm pairing with quite a few snakes. Hey, I got another super chat. Thank you, Earl Austin. Awesome. Yeah, so hopefully this year, I'm hoping I'll have maybe 20, 25 bamboo hatchlings, which would be pretty awesome. So I actually produced a whole bunch of bamboos my first couple years. And then last year, I really cut back on breeding that many bamboos. I think I only had just a few. As a matter of fact, last year I was having a pretty bad year as far as some of the odds. I actually bred a bamboo combination to something else. We got like 10 eggs. And out of all those 10 eggs, we only had like one bamboo, which is kind of crazy. Everyone was waiting for bamboos. I got 1 out of 10 on one of my big clutches, which is kind of crazy. So not many bamboos last year. All right, I've got a hatchling bumblebee that looks like Stevie Wonder when it wants a rodent. She puts her head up and just wobbles her butt off. And yeah, so sometimes spiders can have a pretty bad head wobble. Hey, we got another super chat. Kay and John, thank you. What kind of ultrasound do you use and how much is it? So I actually use a Contec ultrasound. It's CONTEC. And you can actually go over to Amazon.com, search for Contec ultrasound, and it'll actually be, I think the cheapest one is like, they used to be like $1,000. I think they're a little bit more now, but you have to get the linear probe, the probe that's flat versus the probe that's round. You definitely need the flat probe when you're working with ball pythons. All right, let's see. Can you add banana butter? Let's see. Let's see. Where to get any lemon blast females for sale? So yeah, so if you're actually looking for just a lemon blast, I would probably go over on Morphmarket. Or as a matter of fact, if you actually go to reptile shows, almost every reptile show will have a lemon blast with the combination of the pastel and pinstripe. It's a really popular combination. How do I convince my parents to get one? My dad just doesn't like snakes, and my mom doesn't care if I get one. Probably the best way to convince your dad would be to have him watch a lot of YouTube videos on ball pythons. Maybe have him watch some of my videos with Bobby around my neck, so you can really show them how pretty much non-dangerous a ball python is. If you get the right ball python, this snake, let me tell you, this Bobby will never bite me. And once you get over the fear of getting bit, it's a lot easier to convince someone to get a snake. Let's see. Are you going to be at the Denver, Colorado Expo this year? So that's a good question. So I'm not sure. So it looks like, the way the vaccines are running and everyone's kind of opening everything up, it looks like within the next probably 2 to 3 months, everyone could be vaccinated and potentially we could be back to normal where we get this COVID under control. And if that's the case, I'll probably go to a reptile show. But the only thing is, actually, as a matter of fact, one year I got the flu, which was terrible. And a lot of times when I go to the reptile shows, I'm shaking everybody's hand because everybody knows me over at the reptile show. So a lot of times I'm like passing stuff around and carrying hand sanitizer and everything, and I'm still catching stuff. So it really depends on, what's going on with the whole virus thing and if we actually have a handle on it. But I'm thinking maybe this fall I may do some reptile shows, which would be pretty awesome. All right, so there's a whole bunch of questions up on top here. Oh, let's see. If you use back heat, you have to crank up the temp on the thermostat. Not worth doing. Well, that's interesting. So I've never really looked into using back heat versus belly heat. Change Bobby with your two favorite, your second favorite. Yeah, I probably could, but the only thing is, my second favorite as far as being in front of the camera is Bubbles, which is my pinstripe female, and she is full of eggs right now. So I don't know if I really want to put her on my shoulder for a whole live stream. So Bobby's a male, so there's definitely no eggs in here, and Bobby's not breeding anything, so that's why I pretty much have him on my shoulder every single time. Let's see. Why is everything in USA more expensive than the European Morphmarket page? That is a very good question. I think there might be more of a demand here for whatever reason. And it seems like when the demand goes up, a lot of people increase their prices pretty much across the board, which is kind of crazy. I don't think any shows will be open in the UK this year. Yeah, we'll see. Of course, you know, with the vaccines ramping up, that's the other thing. Paired a yellow belly banana female with my leopard butter. Awesome. Euro and the pound is more valuable. Let's see. Still can't find a pastel spider calico desert ghost. Yes, that's a crazy combination. Desert ghost is expensive, and it's kind of hard to find too. Not getting a vaccine. I thought about that. As a matter of fact, if you actually look at the numbers as far as how many people are dying from the vaccine, there's like 1,600 people that have died right after they got the vaccine, which is kind of crazy. Makes you wonder. If you actually look at the odds, it's like 0.002% of the people die from the vaccine. So odds are pretty slim, but it's kind of scary getting the vaccine. All right, let's see. 3 Desert Ghost Clowns. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to work some Desert Ghost into some of my stuff. I just use back heat and hatchling and baby belly heat on breeder females. Huh. That's interesting. So I don't think I've actually seen a rack, like an ARS rack like I've seen behind me, that actually has the back heat on it. I think every rack that I've seen, as far as like a professional rack, actually has the belly heat, which is pretty interesting. All right, let's see. Ah, you're a healthcare worker in the hospital. You won't get the vaccine. Interesting. Yeah. So I would imagine if you kind of, just kind of isolated yourself for another couple of months, you may not need to get the vaccine if you actually stay away from people for a while, and then you get herd immunity and everyone's vaccinated, you might be okay. But here, in the next couple of months, it could be kind of risky. How would you suggest learning how to probe a snake? That is a very good question. Been sternly warned by your local breeder to be careful. So yeah, so when you probe a snake, I've actually done quite a few videos on probing snakes, and I don't know what Bobby's doing. Bobby's like crawling down the middle of my back here. All right, let's go on the other side with Bobby here. So what I actually do when I'm probing a snake, what I do is I put the probe right in the pocket of the tail, but you have to wait until the snake completely relaxes. And then when you push the probe in, essentially what you do is you don't put pretty much no pressure at all on the probe. You definitely have to have it lubed with like a waterproof, like an electrode gel or like KY jelly or something like that. And then it can be kind of tricky at first, but what I do is wait till the snake is completely relaxed and then gently just go right in the tail pocket. You don't have to push at all. It takes a little bit of practice. And what I did is I just bought a probe kit and started probing snakes. and that's the way I learned. But probably I would probably it's kind of a tricky process probing snakes, and it helps if you have a really tame snake that's not trying to run away too. So sometimes if they're really tense and they're really running away, sometimes it can be almost impossible to probe, which is kind of crazy. But as far as learning, I would probably learn by watching videos, maybe buying a probe kit, trying it yourself, or probably the best is to find someone who's familiar with probing to help you probe your first few snakes. But sometimes it's kind of hard to find someone that'll help you do that. So if you actually come to one of the reptile shows that I go to, I could probably show you, if I bring my probe kit, if I'm actually at a reptile show. I've actually probed quite a few snakes at the reptile shows. Is the VPI Xanthic line better than the TSK or JD lines? So yeah, there's quite a few lines of Xanthic. I've actually seen some VPI lines that look just as good as the best TSK lines, but it seems like a lot of people are working with a better, it seems like a lot of the TSKs are a better version of the TSK versus the majority of the VPIs. So there's definitely some overlap as far as which one is the better quality. I'd probably work with either one. I'd just pick out a really good example of whatever one you're working with. Let's see. Do you have favorite breeders? So you mean like people that are breeding ball pythons? So I really don't follow a lot of different breeders as far as really watching what other people are doing. So I kind of, well, I guess I kind of randomly look. I'm always fascinated with the really big breeders that have, like, as a matter of fact, I was watching, can't remember who it was the other day. I was watching someone and they're like, yeah, I'm going to hold back some clowns. I'm going to hold back 350 female clowns this year. I'm just kind of fascinated on how large of a scale some of these breeders are, especially watching them on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. Do you sell Brazilian rainbow boas? No, I don't. But as a matter of fact, I think you can go over to Morphmarket and you can find some Brazilian rainbow boas over on Morphmarket. Look in different categories over there. That's probably where I would go. Starting out, would you build or buy your first racks? So I've actually seen a lot of people building the racks, and the problem is if you spend a lot of money building racks, I've seen some people building them out of wood, and sometimes the wood can warp and the tubs don't fit straight, and you don't have the right ventilation. Sometimes it can get moldy, sometimes the wood can get moldy. If you use kind of a particle board, I've actually seen where sometimes it can swell. I've actually seen some disasters, and what I decided is all right, I'm just going to do it professional, and I'm going to build it one level at a time. That's why I went with the ARS racks, because on these racks behind me, you can actually buy just one level at a time. And I was buying I think 3 levels at a time or 4 levels. And then for my boa tubs, it was just one level. And I slowly invested year after year until I pretty much filled my whole room. And now I really don't buy tubs anymore because I really don't want to expand. But I would probably do professional racks just a few levels at a time if you could. And that way, 5 or 10 years down the road, if you're still breeding ball pythons, you'll have a really nice setup, a really professional setup. Can you get out of snakes straight behind you? I can. Take a look at this. This is, yeah, look at this one. Oh my goodness. This girl, just a little over a year old, 2019 triple head, albino pied clown. Looks pretty much like a normal, my most expensive normal looking snakes. This girl's name is Savage. Doing really well. Pretty good for just a little over a year. She was eating like a horse up until recently. She hasn't eaten probably in a couple months now. Kind of hit the 1,000 wall ground, being really stubborn, but it's kind of interesting. She still has some really good body condition, looking really good. It looks a little bit brighter than a normal. I've actually heard some people say that the het clown, will actually brighten up a snake. I think that's where a lot of the influence of the brighter color is coming from on that one. But that is a snake right behind me. I can actually pull out. Yeah, I pretty much got most of it full, all except the top 2 rows up there. All right, let's see. My snake makes a spitting sound after eating, but it's only once in a while. Only lasts about 2 days and stops. Huh, I'm not familiar with that. Probably what I would do is if your snake's making kind of an unusual sound like that, what I would do is I'd see if I can record it on a video and then maybe post it over on YouTube or maybe send the video over to your veterinarian so they can actually see what's going on. Let's see. Do you think there's a future breeding highway and super gravel? Definitely, definitely. I don't think the highways, the freeways, the super gravels, I don't think any of them will actually ever kind of go out of popularity because it's kind of a hard project and it's hard to make them. Let's see. I'm like so far behind in these questions. All right, I just started my breeding journey. Congratulations, Alyssa. So far, I have a female Lesser, a male Mojave. I was thinking about getting a banana next, but should I get a male or a female? And what genes should I look into? So if I was actually to get a banana, I would probably get a female because your males would be female makers, and you would also get more females. Well, I don't know because it really depends how you think of it. So if you want to produce a lot of bananas, it's actually better to get a male maker banana. A male, that's a male maker because you actually produce a whole bunch of males and then you can breed them within like a year or year and a half or 2 years versus on the females. Sometimes you're waiting a long time to actually get the females. But if you get the females, keep in mind they're actually producing the eggs and a lot of people want more females. So I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword. As a matter of fact, if I was actually to start over in the bananas and the corgals, I would probably get females, which would be kind of interesting. It would really kind of change things around. I would definitely produce probably less bananas and corgals at the beginning. I'm going to bed because it's almost 2 a.m. All right. It's kind of interesting. For a while, I did the 12-hour live streams. I did 3 of them back to back, and it was kind of interesting. I was doing lives all the way up until midnight. I was going noon to midnight, and some of the people would actually go to bed when I started my live stream, and then they were just waking up at midnight in another part of the world, which is kind of crazy. Everyone's like, going to midnight, and everybody's like, good morning, good morning. That was pretty interesting. How big does a bumblebee scaleless python get in length? So I think a bumblebee scaleless head. So the scaleless heads should get as big as a regular ball python. I think my biggest ones as far as the length are right around 6 feet is probably the longest that you would see. Are you a sports guy? No, I'm not really a sports guy. I used to watch a lot of football back when the Broncos here in Colorado were really big and were winning the Super Bowl like year after. I think they won the Super Bowl like 3 times in a row. That was quite a long time ago, though. How do you get your ball pythons like Bobby wide in the body? So, yeah, so it seems like Bobby is just kind of matured over the years, and I don't really feed him that much. As a matter of fact, he is lucky if I can feed him once a week, and he still has a pretty wide body. But the more you feed him, the bigger they get if you can actually feed them. All right, let's see. Wow, I'm way behind on these comments. Please remember, hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button. We've been going for 48 minutes. All right, 83 people on the live stream. So I think I'm actually going to go for an hour and a half today, since it seems like we just kind of get rolling after an hour. And it seems like the last couple ones have been kind of cutting it off right at an hour. I'm going to do this again tomorrow at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But keep in mind, the time changes tomorrow. Actually, I think the time changes tonight, late at night. So it'll actually be, I think we spring forward. So it'll actually be technically like 5 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. because we're actually going to jump forward to 6 p.m. at 5. All right, let's see. Orange ghost here. I see appeared a fire bamboo hat orange ghosts. Let's see. For me getting ARS racks, they will only ship the hybrid ones into the closest port, and the panels are not allowed in my country. Wow, that's crazy. So I've actually had the hybrid ARS racks and the regular ARS racks that are all steel. And kind of the interesting difference between the two is when I get the hybrids, they come in like a million pieces and it takes me all day to put them together. And when I get the regular ones, they actually come all assembled and on a truck, on a pallet. So it's super easy. All you have to do is take each level off, move it into wherever you're going, and then just set the levels on top of each other. So if you do the regular ones, it's really easy to set up, although the non-hybrids are super heavy, which is kind of crazy. Picking up an Enchi female tomorrow. Awesome. That's cool. I have Mojave Lesser bamboo jeans in my collection. Which combination of white snakes do you prefer? So that's a good question. So keep in mind, if you actually do the bamboo with another gene, like the Lesser, the Mojave, a lot of times the bamboo combinations are more expensive. And I think the easier sell is the Lesser Mojaves because it's a lot more inexpensive of a snake. Although you can actually make bamboo combinations too. You make more money with the bamboo combinations, the white snakes, but a lot of times it's a harder sell, especially at reptile shows, because the bamboo is more, it's a more cost for pretty much a lot of people. It seems like a lot of people that get white snakes are actually looking for a pet versus a breeder. All right, when a ball python prelays shed, do they always look 100% obviously gravid? So I would say they do. They look really plump. As a matter of fact, if you have the prelay shed, usually you'll actually see your females where it looks like they just ate a bunch of meals and they're nice and plump. Because keep in mind, usually after the prelay shed, it's about 30 days or so until they'll actually lay those eggs. So sometimes you can actually be tricked into thinking it's the prelay shed when in fact it's not. Usually you'll definitely notice that they're a little bit plumper. What do you need to start breeding pythons? Good question. You need a male and a female. That's pretty much it. And of course, you need the setup too. I would actually get two different enclosures, one for the male, one for the female. Some people actually use just plastic totes with like a heat mat on a controller underneath the plastic tote, and then they'll just like drill holes in the tote and then put like some coconut husk in there, which is kind of crazy. So you can actually start really inexpensive. What do you know of the puzzle? The puzzle is awesome. Yes, it's a recessive gene. As a matter of fact, the puzzle is possibly one of the ones that, as a matter of fact, I might get into the puzzle at some point. They're really super expensive. And when I first started in ball pythons, I would look at the puzzles and I'd be like, that doesn't really look that impressive, just a puzzle by itself. Because essentially what it looks like a normal ball python with kind of streaking on the sides. But when you start mixing other genes into the puzzle, it's probably almost comparable to some of the clown combos. We can make some really crazy combinations with the puzzle. I think the puzzle is really one of the most underrated genes as far as being popular, like the clown, which is kind of crazy. How bad did you get hit with the snow? So it's kind of interesting. We really haven't had much snow at all up here in the mountains of Colorado. So it's been pretty much, well, we've had snow since the fall. We've been like in a permafrost pretty much the whole time. I actually bought a motorcycle quite a few months ago, and I still can't get it out of the driveway because it's solid ice and snow over the whole driveway. I haven't had a single day where I can squeeze the motorcycle out of the driveway, which is kind of crazy. So we're getting like maybe 3 or 4 inches, you know, every few days, which is kind of the normal amount of snow for this time of year. So it's not anything outrageous. Like they were talking about like 8 feet of snow or something like that. Thank goodness we didn't get 8 feet of snow. Lesser Mojave, yeah. So yeah, you can do bamboo lesser too. So either one, lesser Mojave and the bamboo lesser would be a good pairing. How is your male bamboo so huge? That's a good question. So when Bobby was small, he would eat like crazy. He would eat anything. And I was feeding him a lot of rodents when he was small. I was feeding him probably like 2 rodents a week, sometimes 3, and he grew super big, super fast. And then he just hit a certain point just recently, I'd say maybe about a year and a half ago. and he just stopped eating. And for some reason, he just won't eat for months at a time. And then when he does start eating, he'll eat maybe once a week, maybe every other week. But it seems like his metabolism slowed down so much that he's not really losing any weight, even for not eating for a couple months, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, he got really big, really fast, and then just kind of stopped, which is kind of crazy. Are you going to do retext next? No, I just have Lucy, who is like my 100-pound reticulated python, and I have Sunny, who is my super dwarf. And one of these days, I'm actually going to get eggs from those two, but I haven't got eggs yet. I'll probably just pair them every once in a while, but I probably won't get into retext as far as like the genetics and the videos and really buying more retext. I'll probably just stick with ball pythons. What genes do you recommend for blue-eyed leucistic? Good question. So I'd say most people consider the blue-eyed leucistic pretty much the ultimate one is to be the combination of the lesser and the Mojave, because you get one that has normal size eyes. Sometimes you can get bug eyes or micro eyes, and sometimes you can actually get snakes that have a little bit of color in them. And if you actually make the Mojave lesser, it's pretty much one of the brightest combinations of all of them. One of the ones I really like, as far as another one, I really like the Super Russos, because if you have two copies of the Russo, it seems like you get the brightest blue eyes, which is pretty amazing with the Super Russos. As a matter of fact, I actually did a video. I was talking about, I can't remember which video it was, but I was talking about blue-eyed leucistics with red eyes. And someone left a comment under one of my videos and says, hey, someone actually found out that if you have a blue-eyed leucistic with red eyes, more than likely you might have banana in the mix. I've actually seen some people making banana blue-eyed leucistics with red pupils, which is pretty much the only snake that I know of that has red in the eyes other than an albino combination, which is kind of crazy. Mojave Lesser, yes. What male should I buy right now? I have a Bumblebee, 100% het clown female. So I would probably go with another het clown with other genes in the combination of the clown. And of course, a lot of the, the really expensive clowns will have like the leopard spot nose where you can make the Batman clowns or stuff like that, which would be pretty awesome. So the Bumblebee is the pastel and the spider. You can make some pretty awesome combinations there. Do all ball pythons with green eyes carry the pastel genes? No, I've actually seen some with green eyes. I can't remember which combinations I was looking at, but I did see some with really bright green eyes that didn't contain the pastel gene. A lot of times your pastels will have really bright green eyes, but not in all cases. I've actually seen some pastels that don't have green eyes, so sometimes it can be pretty variable. Yeah, Russo Lesser would be a good combination. All right. Yeah, lots of comments. All right, we're going 57 minutes. All right, so I'll go another half hour. We'll keep going. Not going to go 12 hours, though. All right. What is your opinion of the Super Blast? I love the Super Blast. That's the combination of the Super Pastel and the Pinstripe. It's a pretty awesome combination between those two. And if you actually take the Super Blast, you breed it to something else, everything will be at least pastel, and then you'll get lemon blasts. Probably, I think it's what, 50% of the time you'd actually get lemon blasts out of that. What single gene morph would you recommend breeding with a super fly lesser? New breeder here. All right, so the super fly lesser is a super pastel fire lesser. So super pastel. I really like the super pastels bred to another super pastel. You can make a whole clutch of super pastels, which would be pretty awesome. So that's one thing you can think about. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about if I started a whole collection, I'd probably do all super pastels and produce all super pastels, which would be kind of crazy. And then the fire and the lesser. One thing you can actually work into this, you could go for, another thing you can do is axanthics. if you actually work pastel and fire into axanthic, you get a really clean, super bright white background and a really high contrast in a lot of your axanthic. So you can take that and breed it to something like an axanthic and get you get the pastel, fire, het axanthic, and then breed those back together and make some really awesome axanthic combinations. What's my favorite memory from your time in this hobby? Probably my favorite memory. That's a good question. I think probably the best time that I had is when I brought Bobby to his first reptile show. I actually have that. If you go to my channel over on YouTube, it's like the one that plays right away. That's probably the best time that I had. I was actually surprised at how many people knew who Bobby was and how kind of really mellow Bobby was when I actually handed him to all the people. That was that was really fun. Just kind of handing Bobby to everyone. Everyone's just like in awe over Bobby. That's probably the best time that I've had in the hobby. All right, let's see. Let's come down to the bottom here. I'm using a Super Blast for Sterling project. Awesome. Yes. My female is still eating. Do you think she will lay? I started pairing mid-October. So I actually have some females still eating too. And I actually matter of fact, I just finished pairing up. I actually think that some of them will still lay. I wouldn't give up hope yet, especially if you're still pairing your snakes. Sometimes they can keep eating even at this point, and then they'll keep building their follicles and they'll end up laying. Usually I've actually had some lay in August. So a lot of times you'll actually get the breeding right in at the end of the pairing season, and they'll still be really late breeders. And sometimes, as a matter of fact, if you actually stop breeding now, you could potentially have some eggs and get them back into condition for the following year. So I definitely wouldn't give up on some of those. What's up, man? Just seeing you live. What is going on? I'm actually, usually I just go an hour. I'm going to go an hour and a half today. So I'm going to go another half hour. So what is going on? I bet Bobby's a superstar at any show. Yeah, he is pretty awesome. Seems like he gets more and more popular. Obviously, the more videos I make, the more views. Oh yeah. Have you ever sold a $10,000 snake? Nope. The most expensive snake that I've ever sold is $1,500 as far as my most expensive snake. As a matter of fact, someone actually came up to me at a reptile show and says, hey, I have $10,000 in my pocket and I want to buy one snake. What do you got? I was like, you need to go to a different table because I don't have any $10,000 snakes here at my table. Not yet. Anyways, I haven't been really breeding that long. And it's kind of interesting because I started, kind of at a low, kind of at the low end. And I'm kind of working out my multiple combinations as far as slowly working up. Usually if you have a $10,000 snake, you've invested like thousands and thousands in some really high-end genes to actually get to the $10,000 snakes. Main project is Super Emperor Kryptons and Killer Clowns. Cool. So Krypton. Yeah, Krypton, I actually did a video on that. It's kind of the first time I actually was exposed to that. That's Het Cryptic and Het Clown makes the Krypton, which looks similar to the Cryptics in appearance, which I guess everyone's just recently finding out about the Cryptics and the Kryptons, which is kind of confusing. It's a pretty amazing project. It's still pretty expensive too. Let's see. Who's Bobby? Yeah, who's Bobby? Bobby is the snake that I have around my neck. So this is Bobby. He is the star of my YouTube channel. And Bobby, everyone comes to watch Bobby, and I just kind of talk in the background while everybody watches Bobby. I have him at the beginning and the end of every video, like thousands of videos. Well, I'm up to like 1,100 videos over here on YouTube, and he's probably in the majority of my videos. I started doing videos only with Bobby, maybe, I think it's been about a year, maybe 2 years ago I started with Bobby. So we may have like 600 videos with Bobby in the videos. So everybody knows who Bobby is, which is kind of crazy. What do you think about feeding your snakes gerbils? So yeah, so I've heard that that you can actually get stubborn snakes back on food with gerbils, because gerbils are almost I'd say it's kind of similar to feeding mice or feeding African soft furs. The snakes really like them, but I've heard you can actually get a snake stuck on gerbils. And the problem is if you actually had a ball python that would only eat gerbils, I'd say it's probably hard to actually sell that snake to someone else unless they actually breed gerbils. I don't know of anyone that really uses gerbils. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if you could actually go to one of these feeder sources online and get a consistent supply of gerbils. And I would think that it could be pretty expensive to buy gerbils, although you could probably use them once in a while to kind of get your snakes back on food. Have you ever been bitten by an adult ball python that didn't bite as a baby? So actually really only got bit once by an adult ball python, and it was actually when I was feeding a snake. It was my spider pie that had a little bit of a head wobble, kind of a stargaze going on, and I got a little bit too close with the rodent, and he grabbed my hand instead of the rodent, and he got me real good to where I was like bleeding all over. Got me right between the fingers on my hand. But other than that, I haven't really been bitten by an adult ball python either. As a matter of fact, I've been bit, but it's just been like a little nip. It hasn't been like a really like a bite where they grab and wrap. Really crazy. Yeah, poor gerbils, they are so cute. Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing, is a lot of people keep gerbils as a pet versus rats. I think they're a little bit more accepted as far as feeding them to your snakes. It's kind of like feeding bunnies to your snake. A lot of people kind of frown on that. What morphs look better in person than on camera? Probably the ones that I've actually seen is the Mojave GHIs in person. They almost look like they're made of plastic or something, which is kind of weird. If you actually see the Mojave GHIs, you actually look at some pictures and it's like you don't realize how amazing the really good Mojave GHI looks. Another one is the Bamboo Lemon Blast. It looks really super metallic, like it's made out of metal or something. You see like the really metallic looking snakes, a lot of times they look a lot better in person because they're reflecting the light, and you really get a lot of the kind of the iridescent color of a lot of those snakes, which you really can't see in the picture. All right, let's see. Desert Ghost Clown Project is very hot right now. Yes, I can imagine. Anything Desert Ghost seems to be really hot. Probably my best looking snake that's really held the color the best over the years has been my pastel Desert Ghost combinations. Really look good. In the middle of a garage to snake room remodel. 9,500 invested. Can't wait to get started. Wow, that's pretty awesome. 9,500. Yeah. Yeah, keep in mind the equipment can cost a lot too. So even in this small room here, just in my racking system, I think I have like $20,000 invested just in my racks, which is kind of crazy. I haven't thought about converting my garage though, but I actually have my motorcycle on one side and my car on the other side of my garage. I do have like a 3-stall barn down at the bottom side of the property, but I'm always afraid if I convert something that's separate from the house that the bears will break in and eat all my snakes, which would be a disaster. So I kind of want to keep everything in the house. All right, let's see. Wilbanks has a pastel leopard highway, 6,500. Yeah, static electricity. Yeah, anything with the pastel and the leopard in the highways are really crazy looking combinations. And Wilbanks has a lot of really awesome stuff over on Morphmarket. I use a lot of his examples over there. It seems like he has the best pictures and some of the best snakes over there. As a matter of fact, one of the guys I would like to collaborate with, even to go into his facility, is Wilbanks. I'd like to actually see him in person as far as some of his stuff. That'd be pretty awesome. Hello, Chris and Bobby. What's up, Robert Bailey? Can you make a video of your 2021 snakes? Yes, I'll definitely make some videos as soon as I make some snakes. Don't have any 2021 hatchlings yet. I'll probably get my first eggs here maybe in a month or so. As far as getting my first hatchlings, probably about midsummer to get my first hatchlings. And I definitely make videos of every single hatchling that I produce here in my collection. Hey, we got another super chat. All right. Thank you, Moonstone, etc. What's the outcome on the car seat issue? Yeah, so yeah, I actually made a video where I was like listing all my failures here in my snake room and everything. And one of them was I was actually selling some snakes. I was driving them down to FedEx, and I put one of my sub-adult ball pythons on the seat of my car, and it went to the bathroom, and the pee went all over the seat of my car and like seeped down in my seat. And I actually found this stuff. It's called Nature's Miracle. And I actually took that Nature's Miracle and I sprayed it on there. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to spray it on and let it soak in till it completely dries. And I did that twice, and it seems like probably 99% of the smell actually came out with that Nature's Miracle spray, which is pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, I might get another bottle. That's like the last of my bottle that I had here to clean out like the dog smells and stuff like that. I haven't used it in a long time, but it was pretty awesome. Earl Austin, thank you for the super chat. The cows need more food and we want more time learning from you. Thank you very much. Yes. All right. Yes, the cows, as a matter of fact, I actually started feeding the cows round bales. The round bales are a lot cheaper. They're not as good as hay as the square bales. With those round bales, it's pretty amazing how cheap they are, and you can put a lot of hay in those round bales. Although once you get in the center of the round bale with a pitchfork, you almost break your pitchfork trying to feed the cows. Those things are like super compact. It's kind of an experience. I should actually do a video someday, and then just kind of at the end of the video, maybe kind of show you all my cows and dogs like I used to do back in the day. Maybe get my drone out once the snow melts and kind of show you some of the stuff around the house. Yeah, I kind of miss doing some of that stuff. Let's see. I have a kind of important question. Since the freeze in Texas, my ball python seems to have been showing signs of like a neurological problem. So, it's kind of interesting. I have seen some non-spider or I guess you call them wobble complex, kind of have a problem with a neurological issue once in a while, but it's pretty rare to where you'll actually see kind of the wobble in a non-spider combination. So I don't know exactly what causes it. As a matter of fact, I actually saw a video once. Someone thought that you can actually use vitamins, like a vitamin mix, put it in your rodents to kind of correct neurological problems, but it wasn't ball pythons. It was another kind of snake. I think what they were doing is they fed the snake like fish or something like that. That wasn't a complete diet for that species of snake, and it developed a neurological issue. And then they started feeding it vitamins, and it reversed the neurological issue. So it really depends on what you're feeding. It's like if you're feeding it a ball python like chicks or quail or something like that, it could be that you could possibly do some vitamin supplements to get that back in line. So that's another kind of an interesting thing that I just thought of here, kind of on the fly. Yeah, I miss the cows and ducks. Yes, I'll have to do the cows and ducks. Ball pythons were frozen. Oh yeah, so yeah, if you lost power and you got your ball pythons really cold, that could be a problem too. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that would do as far as what that would do to a ball python. Have you ever seen or heard of a candy axanthic? So that's kind of a complicated project there, because it's a double recessive with the candy and the axanthic. And I don't think I've ever heard of anyone working axanthic into candy. As a matter of fact, probably what you would actually get is you would get a candy snow, which would be kind of interesting, since candy is allelic with albino, so it's actually a type of albino. If you actually were candy into axanthic, what you might get is you might get a completely white snake, but keep in mind the candy doesn't have the bright red eyes that you'd see in the albinos. It kind of has like a dark red, kind of an interesting looking eye. It'd be kind of an interesting project working candy into a xanthic. All right, what would you pair with a pastel Enchi Desert Ghost? As a matter of fact, I actually have a pastel Enchi Desert Ghost, and what I'm actually pairing that one with is a pastel Spider Desert Ghost. So yeah, I could actually get the super pastels and the pastels Desert Ghost. And Spider, a lot of people there's kind of mixed feelings about the Spider. It's actually the only Spider that I have here in my collection is my Spider in the Desert Ghost. But probably what I would do is I would look for something that's at least Het Desert Ghost and then work in other genes into the combination to try to get more genes into the Desert Ghost. One of my favorites is the Pinstripe Desert Ghost, which is pretty awesome. And pretty much anything with pastel in with the Desert Ghost is really pretty amazing. Let's see. How do you know if you're seeing other breeders working with genetic stripe clown? You hardly see it. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting with the genetic stripe. It seems like there's not a whole lot of people that are doing a lot with the genetic stripe compared to what it used to be. Like when I started 5 years ago, the genetic stripe, people are going crazy over the genetic stripe. And it seems like it kind of fell out of popularity. And a lot of people aren't really working with that gene as much as they used to, which I think is kind of interesting. All right, let's see. Yeah, I love Spider and own them too. So spiders can make some of the most breathtaking, visually stunning combinations in all of ball pythons, but there's the small percentage that have a really bad head wobble that really gives them a bad name. If it wasn't for the head wobble, if we could actually figure out how to prevent the head wobble in the spiders, I think it would be a lot more popular than it actually is. Let's see. I have a pastel 50% het pied and a lesser Mojave blue-eyed leucistic. Is it financially worth it to breed them? So let's see. Pastel 50% het pied and a lesser Mojave. So you would get pastel Mojaves, the pastaves, or you would get the pastel lessers. Both pretty amazing combination. Is it financially worth it? I would say it's financially worth it to breed them. So even if you broke even, at least you would pay for the food that you're putting into it. So you could definitely make some money breeding ball pythons, at least enough to pay for the substrate and the food and to break even. So if you don't breed it, I don't know, you could actually breed them to something else. If you had other options, I would probably pair to something else like a lesser Mojave. I would probably breed it to something else in the blue-eyed leucistic complex to make some more blue-eyed leucistics, which would be more so like a pastel 50% het pied. I would probably breed that to like a pied to see if you can prove out the het pied in that one. But if those are the only two snakes you have, then yeah, I would definitely breed them together if you're just starting out. All right, let's see. Can you do something other than an albino to make a cherry bomb? So you can, so the only thing that's close to a cherry bomb. So a cherry bomb is an all-white snake with red eyes. And really the only way to get the red eyes is the albino. Other than the only thing that I've seen that's kind of close is a blue-eyed leucistic with banana in the mix. Sometimes a banana blue-eyed leucistic will give you red pupils in the combination. That looks kind of close to a cherry bomb. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything you can do. Let's see. Yeah, you can't sell spider morph in the UK shows. Yeah, I've noticed that they banned them in the UK, which is kind of crazy. Is there an advantage to having a bigger male? No, actually, most people will say it's a disadvantage to have a bigger male. So this male around my neck, this is Bobby. He's about 2,800 grams, a really super huge male. Most people would say that once a male gets to this size, it kind of gets a little bit lazy. And a lot of times they have problems breeding the females, having a male this big. Most people will keep the males pretty much about anywhere from usually under 1,500 grams for the male. A lot of people will kind of limit feed their males to keep them on the smaller side, which I don't know if that's true now, but that's kind of what I've heard in some YouTube videos that I've heard from some of the bigger breeders. Let's see. All right, yeah. So there's a whole bunch of questions. Yeah, I'm like way behind on these questions. Bobby is fat. It's not like Bobby used to be a lot fatter now. So Bobby, he actually in the last 2 months, Bobby's only eaten once, which is kind of crazy. Look at how big he is for only eating once in 2 months. And he's still super fat, which is kind of crazy. He just, for some reason, he would just not eat. And before that, he was pretty much eating every single week, pretty much back to back for maybe 3 or 4 months. And then he just went on a fast. It's just, and he doesn't lose any weight, which is kind of crazy. Ball pythons really surprised me that they can go for so long without food and not really lose any weight. It's kind of crazy. All right, I have an extremely lavender colored banana het pied. What would I have to pair with her to create a banana pied that has deeper purples? So normally with the bananas, usually only as hatchlings, they're super lavender. As a matter of fact, I actually bought a coral glow, which was one of the most beautiful coral glows I've ever seen over on Morphmarket, with a lot of deep purples and oranges, and looked fantastic. Pretty much the best coral glows that you've ever seen. And when I actually got that snake, it was already starting to lose a lot of that color. And as an adult, it doesn't have any purples or oranges at all. It's pretty much like a two-tone yellow. And every time I breed that coral glow and produce more, I get some of the most amazing looking coral glows as hatchlings. When you see them at the show, they're like, man, that's amazing coral glow. But I haven't really seen anything that will keep the purple color as a coral glow ages and matures. Most of the times, I'd say they lose all the purple color. Do I have an Instagram? No, no Instagram, no Snapchat, no nothing pretty much besides. The only thing I really do is YouTube. I don't have any Facebook or anything like that. Just do YouTube. And then when I have snakes for sale, I post them over on Morphmarket. No Instagram. As a matter of fact, I think I might have an Instagram. Back when I started Instagram and I realized I couldn't do it on my laptop, and at the time I didn't have a really fancy cell phone. I think that's when I started Instagram. And I have a really nice phone now. I'm actually, as a matter of fact, I'm actually recording on my phone now. So it's actually a Galaxy Note 9. So I could do Instagram, but I just really don't have the time to do another social media. I have, pretty much everything. It's pretty much all I can do to put out daily videos over here on YouTube, which is kind of crazy. How many times can you pair a male to a female before moving him to the next female? So what I actually do is I'll take a male, put it with a female, and usually leave them together for about 3 days. It's pretty much 3 days exactly. And usually after 3 days, you can peek in the tub, and if they're still locked together, I would definitely leave them a few more days locked together. But I find in most cases, after 3 days, you'll miss the lock. In most cases, you won't see it. And then after 3 days, they pretty much move to either side of the tub, or they'll like just lay on top of each other and they won't be locked together anymore. All right, Bobby, what are you doing? He's like crawling behind my back in the chair, and I don't want to squash his head back behind me. All right, Bobby, we want to keep you around. We don't want to squash you back there. All right, let's see. I bought a Pastavi pied female from Wilbanks. What would you suggest breeding? So Pastavi is the pastel and the Mojave with the pied. So yeah, with that one, you kind of have to be careful that you don't produce a blue-eyed leucistic pied. Or like if you actually bred it to something else where you had the possible blue-eyed leucistic or the possible pied, it might get a little bit confusing knowing if you have one or the other. So I probably stay away from anything in the blue-eyed leucistic, although I would probably breed that to another pied or another het pied with some other genes in it. All right, I'm starting to lose my voice. We're at like an hour 23 here. Seems like I get a frog in my throat right after about an hour, hour and a half. I'm not the same after those 12 hours in a row. All right. Do I have any pied clowns coming this year? No. I might have some pieds. I won't have any clowns, any visual clowns. I won't have any pied clown combinations. Does Bobby get stressed when you get him out every day? No. As a matter of fact, I think Bobby really enjoys getting out and getting on my shoulders. As a matter of fact, I think he looks forward to getting out and getting out of that enclosure. I haven't really seen Bobby stressed. The only time he really gets stressed is if I do a really long live stream. Usually after about 2 hours, he starts getting really squirmy, like he doesn't want to be on my shoulders anymore. And then I usually switch him out for another snake. Let's see. Do you have any 4-gene males coming? That is a good question. So 4-gene males, maybe. So probably, so actually probably my most genes that I'll have in a combination, I'm actually breeding my banana enchi clown to my bamboo pastel pinstripe. If I actually get some eggs from that, it's their first year breeding. So I think she's about 2 years old. So I could potentially get banana, enchi, bamboo, pastel, pinstripe, het clowns if I hit all the genes in that combination. Any triple hets coming up? Yes, so I am making some more triple hets this year, some albino pied clowns. As a matter of fact, I'm actually breeding my my albino pied to my lesser clone, hoping for some lesser triple hets, which would be pretty amazing. Can you explain how to prepare females for breeding, temperatures, time, feeding, etc.? So what I do here in my collection, I don't really change the temperatures for my females. I know a lot of breeders, they'll actually increase or decrease temperatures throughout the year. I pretty much keep all my temperatures at about 80 degrees for my ambient and about 90 for my hot spots year round. And then as far as conditioning my females, pretty much what I do is I just increase the frequency of my feeding to usually twice a week instead of once a week to get my females into condition. And then it's like on October 15th, I just start pairing up my snakes and kind of just random. I don't actually look at follicle sizes or anything like that. And then I cycle my males through for about 5 months and then keep feeding my females as much as I can to keep them eating as much as possible. You don't want to overfeed them to where they'll regurgitate. But other than that, and then, you know, pretty much like at this time of the year, I just stop pairing up, and then whatever will go will actually lay eggs. And then I just kind of hope for the best. You know, there's better ways to do it. I can like ultrasound, you know, every single female every week and then do like year-round breeding. There's a lot of stuff I could do to actually optimize my breeding projects. You need more subs. Yeah, so I'm actually doing pretty good for my subs. So I actually have 43,000, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I do need more subs. As a matter of fact, I actually don't usually look at my subs. I look at my views. So it's kind of interesting if you actually go like over to Social Blade, which for some reason Social Blade is not really updating a lot. It's like they're missing a lot of data from YouTube. But if you actually look at my Social Blade and compare that to other people's channels with like 150,000 subscribers, I'm actually getting more views than some of those bigger channels. So to me, it doesn't really matter either way. You know, I'm just going to keep doing videos. It's pretty much my full-time job, so I'll get there one way or the other. And then, of course, at 100,000, you'll actually get the silver play button, the big plaque, which, you know, I'm not really shooting for it, but I'll eventually get there at one point or another. So phone's dead. Peace till next time. All right, so I'm actually 2 minutes away from ending the live stream here. which is coming up to the end. That'll be an hour and a half. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm doing another live stream at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you do the live stream tomorrow, keep in mind that the time changes tonight. We jump ahead, spring ahead an hour. So technically it'll be at 5 p.m., jumping ahead to 6 p.m. tomorrow for the next live stream. And a closure recommendations for a new guy with 2 ball pythons. So what I would actually recommend for a new guy starting out in ball pythons, I actually like the ARS 7010 series. It's actually like the professional racks behind me. You can actually get like a single stack of a 70 series tub that comes with a heat panel and the tub and everything. And it's like $100 per level, which is pretty amazing. You can actually buy additional levels and keep stacking it on top of those levels. It's probably the best way to get into it as far as starting out in ball pythons. When will I post more snakes on my Morphmarket? It's probably going to be midsummer. So assuming I actually get eggs, so it's like the middle of March, I'm thinking maybe April, I'll get my first eggs, the beginning of April, and then they'll hatch May, June, the 1st of June. I'll actually get some eggs to hatch my first ones. And then the 1st of July, I'll probably have a few weeks into those where I can get them feeding really well. So probably not until July where I'll actually have some hatchlings, maybe the middle of July all the way probably into August and September as far as having hatchlings that are ready to sell over on Morphmarket. All right, so let's see. I'll answer one more question. All right. Is the link for the racks listed on here? Yes. So if you're actually looking for racks, you can actually go to arscaging.com. That's arscaging.com. And then once you get over there, you can actually click, I think it's in the middle. They actually have like 3 different places you can go. It's on the middle thing you can click, and that'll bring you over to their main site, and they have a whole bunch of different options as far as buying over there. So I'm not really associated with the ARS caging, even though I do have a lot of ARS caging here in my collection. Do I have an ARS 5540 rack? Yeah, so the 5540 is right here. These are the 5540s, and then over here, this is the hatchling rack over here. $5 for an additional 5 minutes. I could probably do that. All right. 131.28. So, all right, 136.28. I could probably do that. All right, let's go. Let's go. $5 for an additional 5 minutes. Every additional 5 is another 5 minutes. All right. I'll keep going for another 5 minutes. I need something to drink though, because my voice is starting to go. So we've been on for an hour 31. All right, Bobby. Yeah, this is your 3rd year, so still a newbie. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I actually have an incredible amount of ball python videos up, but it's only like my 5th year, so I feel like I'm still kind of a newbie because, ball pythons can take a long time to actually get to the point where you're producing a lot of ball pythons. As a matter of fact, I think this is my 6th year in ball pythons, which is kind of crazy. How do I buy a snake online safely? I want to get my first ball python. So probably the best thing I would do, find someone on Morphmarket and have it shipped from FedEx Ship Center to a FedEx Ship Center. And then you can actually go and pick it up at the FedEx Ship Center and don't have it shipped directly to your house. As a matter of fact, I think now with the pandemic and the new rules and everything, I think you have to ship to a FedEx Ship Center and pick it up from there. That's probably the best way to actually do it. What are the biggest problems you run into when breeding? Trying to get my snakes to eat, trying to get my females to lay eggs. That's probably the biggest thing. And you're hoping, some of these females, some of them will actually lay eggs every single year and eat consistently. And some of them are really super stubborn where they just refuse to eat. And if they don't eat, then of course they don't lay eggs. And sometimes you're sitting on some females for a long time. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's not like breeding dogs where you can just pair them up and you get puppies every year. It's like, it's just kind of random. As a matter of fact, what I'd suggest is I'd probably buy twice as many snakes than you're actually thinking about breeding, because it seems like you only get about half your females to breed every single year. Most people will say you get anywhere from 50% to about 80% of your females to lay every single year. I've yet to see anyone that'll actually get 100% of their females to lay every single year. You're a big reason I'm getting into the industry. Yeah, it can be pretty addictive in ball pythons. Do you need an incubator for eggs? Yes, you definitely need an incubator for eggs. As a matter of fact, I actually have quite a few videos. I have one on how to there's one how to incubate ball python eggs, and I go through the whole thing and show you how to set up the egg boxes and everything. But it's pretty easy. You can actually build one using like a heat tape. You can buy the heat tape over at Reptile Basics, and then just kind of line any kind of like a refrigerator or a cooler or something like that, and then hook the heat tape up to a controller and set it up to 90 degrees, and then you just wait for 2 months. That's pretty much it. It's pretty easy. 5 more minutes, Troy. All right, Troy, you guys are gonna keep me on all night long. All right, so you're up to 135. All right, so I can go to 140. Yeah, that's fine. I'll keep going with the super chats. All right. What's your favorite ball python morph? Bobby, the bamboo, of course. The bamboo is my favorite. One of the reasons that I like the bamboo is it's pretty much the closest you can get to a spider without the neurological issues. It looks really close to a spider, looks really good as a standalone gene, and it's in the blue-eyed leucistic complex where you can make some of the bright white snakes with the blue eyes. And for whatever reason, it seems like the bamboos are better feeders than a lot of your other ball pythons. They feed really super well. As a matter of fact, when I'm feeding my hatchlings, it seems like when I open up the hatchling tub with the bamboo in it, seems like the bamboos are the only ones that come flying out of the tub after that road. They're really super aggressive eaters, which is kind of crazy. Do we get a motorcycle ride at the end? Yeah, we'll see on the motorcycle rides. I've been working on my bike quite a bit. I actually upgraded all my lighting to LEDs and trying to fix some problems. I actually found out I have a short on the brake, the front brake. I think it's just the switch. I need to go in there and change out the switch and do some electrical work. And there's a lot of stuff I'm actually working on the bike. I actually got a big sissy bar in the back, a big 30-inch sissy bar, kind of like the retro chopper look on that bike, which is pretty cool. I actually bought a Harley Davidson Dyna Street Bob, which is pretty cool. Let's see. What snakes are you hoping to produce this year? Well, one of the big ones I'm hoping to produce this year is I want to produce another super chat. Thank you, Jay Quinn. All right. Yeah, one of the biggest snakes I want to produce this year is my visual desert ghosts. I've been trying to breed them every single year. And my pieds. I've been trying to breed my pieds. I actually have a female pied that is driving me crazy. Both those snakes are really high-end snakes. And those females, for whatever reason, they just won't lay eggs. I'm hoping to actually get some pieds and some desert ghosts this year. All right, so Jay Quinn, super chat question. You had recommended get a 4-gene male and pair him with a few normals. Which genes should I be looking for in the males? So that is a good question. It really depends on what you want to do. So yeah, so you can get into pretty much any genes. As a matter of fact, the more you can spend on a 4-gene male, the better, because the more you spend, the more you get back generally. So if you could actually, you could go all the way up to where you're doing like confusion combinations for like thousands of dollars for a multi-gene confusion male. or you can, just spend a few $100s and get something like, probably what I would do is, with something like you can actually do like in the blue and the cystic complex, you can do Lessers, Mojave, GHI, bamboos, pretty much anything I'd probably stick to co-dominant if you're just starting out, and kind of stay away from the recessives. You actually want to see all your results on the very first year. So that's probably what I do, is definitely dominant or co-dominant genes starting out. All right, let's see. Can you do maternal? It's just more room for air. Yes. So yeah, so maternal incubation, not really a big fan of it. If you actually lived in like a tropical climate and had really high humidity in your reptile room, I would probably try maternal incubation. So Jay, 5 minutes and another 5. All right, so we're up to, I'll go for an hour 45. All right, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. Do I breed ghosts? Well, no, I don't. Well, as a matter of fact, yes, so ghost is a recessive gene. I think I actually have I actually bought a lesser female that's possible het ghosts. And on that female, I haven't specifically bred a ghost to that female, so I didn't get a visual ghost, but I'm thinking I do have some het ghosts kind of floating around in some of my hatchlings. So sometimes I'll actually let snakes that are possible het ghosts. I don't really know what line of ghost, if it's like an orange ghost or like just the regular line of ghost. Some of the ghosts can be pretty yellow too. But no, I don't really have anything that I specifically breed to make visual ghosts. All right, let's see. What is the result for a normal and a banana? So a normal is pretty much a snake that's stripped of all genes, and then your banana is it's actually a co-dominant. So anything you breed to a banana, 50% of the offspring come out as bananas. So the thing you have to really watch with the bananas is sometimes you'll actually get male makers or female makers if your banana is a male. So that gets a little bit complicated. If you breed a banana something else and you have a male maker, all your banana offspring will all be males. And if you have a female maker, all your bananas will be females. As a matter of fact, I actually saw some videos where they thought all the non-banana offspring were one gender or the other. And what I've found in my collection, so for example, if I take a banana male maker and I breed it to something else, all the bananas will be males, but all the non-bananas will be 50-50 males and females, which is pretty interesting. Some people say that if you get all male bananas, you'll get all female non-bananas. And I haven't found that that's the case when I'm breeding my snakes, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's the different lines of banana, or if people are seeing different results as far as what they're getting, or if they just don't. I don't know what's going on with the bananas and the corgos when you actually make the non-bananas, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Wow, single gene bananas for 700. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, it really depends on supply and demand. I think because of the whole pandemic, people losing their jobs, that a lot of people are investing into Ball Pythons, hoping to get a return on investment because everything else is falling apart and everyone's buying up all the snakes so people can increase the price of the snakes. I think that's where the price increase is coming from with Ball Pythons. Can we share more ideas on how to get a female off feed to eat? So if you have a female that's off of food, probably the best thing you can do is try like a live mouse, depending on how big that female is. If it's not a really huge female, probably do a live mouse. That pretty much will get almost any snake to eat with live mice. I mean, that's what you feed hatchlings when you really can't get them to eat. Or you could try, a lot of people go to live rats or live African soft furs, or you could try like gerbils or something like that, like a live gerbil or something like that. But live usually will get a female off of food eating. It really depends on what's going on with the female. So if you've been breeding that female and the female is really plump and all full of eggs, there's nothing you can do to get that female to eat because it's just so full of eggs. And at that point, you just have to wait till they lay eggs until they'll eat again. Why did I start collecting and breeding snakes? That's a good question. So it's kind of interesting. So I was actually working a day job, and someone showed me in the lunchroom when I was working in the lab. I was actually a chemist working in the lab, and I was in the lunchroom. Someone showed me a picture of, it was over on Morphmarket. They showed me a scaleless head that was selling for $45,000. I was like, what's going on with snakes? I had no clue about ball pythons or genes or genetics. And when I got into snakes, I felt like I was in the dark my whole life, and I like missed this whole thing with the ball pythons pretty much from the beginning, where people were doing this for 20 years. I was like, what's going on with ball pythons? And I was like, let me tell you, I would have definitely got into it probably 10 years earlier if I would have known about what's going on with ball pythons. Can I have your opinion on red-tailed boas? Yes, I know nothing about boa constrictors. I did one video on boas, and I think it was like comparing different localities. And I was kind of at the stage where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my YouTube channel. And I was going, I was like, showing videos on my roaches and my frogs and a bunch of stuff. And one of those I actually did boa constrictors, but other than that, I really don't know a lot about boa constrictors. Let's see. Have you tried quail? No, I haven't. Yeah, so you could actually try quail to get your stubborn snake to eat. Yeah. Not many people in Scotland have lost their jobs. That's interesting. Let's see. Best way to transport a snake from Wisconsin to Colorado. Good question. Yeah, probably what I would do is you can actually buy these what do they call them? Like, it's like a reptile egg incubator. It looks like a little mini refrigerator that cools and heats. And you can pick them up. I think they're like $130 or something like that. I actually have some here in my house. I don't think they draw a lot of power. And I think what you can actually do in a vehicle is you could take that and you can hook it up to a power inverter and run it. And you could probably dial it in to like 80 degrees, 85, and then put your snake in that little cooler. That's probably what I would do, and keep your snake warm the whole way, all the way over. Or what you could actually do is put it in, like if you had some kind of like an ARS 7010, just one level, or if you actually had an enclosure that was portable, and then you take that heat strip, plug it into a thermostat, plug it into something like a power inverter, and run it through like a cigarette lighter or something like that to keep some heat on that snake. That's probably what I would do. Favorite reticulated python morph. I've actually seen some pretty amazing reticulated pythons. The problem is with reticulated pythons, I'm not that good with the morphs. I know there's a lot of morphs in reticulated pythons. I can't quite remember. I know the one that I've really seen a lot is the super tiger. I like the super tigers, which are pretty amazing. They have like the spots and the dashes up and down the snake, which is kind of crazy. Healthcare in Scotland is free. That's pretty wild. Only 5 million Scottish people and 2 million work. That's pretty wild. What substrate do you recommend right now? I have a boa and he loves to burrow. So I pretty much use across the board. I use the coconut husk substrate here in my collection. Every now and then I'll actually get a ball python that'll burrow in the coconut husk, but usually only when it dries out. Just 5 more. All right, DC, 5 more minutes. We're going to an hour 52. All right, you guys are going to keep me here all night. Super chat at a time. Night, brother. See you tomorrow. See you, Earl Austin. Yeah, so the problem with coconut husk is if you actually add water to the coconut husk, which I like to do for the humidity for the ball pythons, it tends to really form like a solid clump where the snakes really can't burrow in the substrate. So for a burrowing substrate, I don't know, I'd probably use something a little bit different. What you could probably do is take I would probably take something like aspen, maybe mix it with like the coconut husk chips, mix it with something else that's really loose and fluffy. Maybe you could do something like I would probably do some kind of a blend of a bunch of different substrates. I don't know about the aspen chips. It might be a little bit too sharp. You could probably do something like peat moss, or you could do I'm trying to think of the other kind of a moss that kind of looks like moss. I can't remember the name of it, but you could do like a whole bunch of different substrates, something a little bit more fluffy that the snakes could actually burrow in. All right, let's see. Ordering blackjack pizza. Want some? Yes. I usually do the combinations. I'm not picky at all. Not too many onions, probably no anchovies. Other than that, I'll eat just about anything. How do you know when an egg is too bad to keep? Yeah, so what I do is as a matter of fact, when I actually find the eggs with the ball python, I separate. I try to get them as fast as I can so they're still a little mushy and gooey, and at that point you can separate them pretty good. If you actually leave them clumped up for too long, especially in a dry climate, they get to the point where you really can't separate them. And then I separate them in the egg box, and if I get a bad one, what I'll actually do is I'll take that bad egg and I'll put it in a separate box and keep incubating and incubating. A lot of times you'll definitely know, like after a month and a half, it'll like turn into a hard rock, or it'll completely flatten out. Sometimes they can actually smell pretty bad and still be good. So I would probably keep all my bad eggs, but I would separate them into a separate box and don't give up on them. I've actually tried all kinds of sprays and a whole bunch of stuff on bad eggs, and it seems like I really can't find anything. Yeah, sphagnum moss, that's what I was thinking of earlier for the mix. Yeah, but as a matter of fact, another thing I was thinking about with the eggs in the incubation box, I always thought it'd be kind of interesting to take springtails and put them in with the eggs while they're incubating, because the springtails will actually eat the mold on the eggs, which would really, I would think, would be kind of like a natural way to keep the eggs from going bad and reduce the mold growth in with the eggs. I haven't tried it yet, but I may actually try it this year, adding springtails to my egg boxes. All right. All right, let me scroll way down. I'm way behind on comments. Let's see. What are your favorite bamboo combos? So with the bamboo, I like the bamboo blue-eyed leucisticus. As a matter of fact, bamboo almost acts like lesser. When you work it into almost any blue-eyed leucistic gene, you'll actually end up with an all-white snake, really super white snake, which is pretty amazing. And the other bamboo combinations I like are with the pinstripe and pastel. The bamboo lemon blast are really like a metallic looking snake. I like the bamboo spiders, although some people kind of steer away from the spiders. I like the bamboo womas, if you've seen some of those. It has a really reduced pattern on the top of the banana, which is pretty amazing. I also like the bamboo ultramels. I actually saw one of those over on Morphmarket. Probably like the craziest looking banana with the banana and the ultramel. That was pretty awesome. Why does my ball python never strike and grab his frozen thought? I just leave him with it and eats. So that's weird. Yeah, so I actually tried that once in a while, leaving the rodent with the ball python, and sometimes they do. Sometimes they can get a little bit shy and won't actually strike the rodent, which is kind of crazy. If I drop another 25, would you add 30 minutes? All right. I'll go another 30 minutes for 25. If my throat can hold up, I think I'll be all right. I think I'm doing all right. All right. All right. Do you handle your tarantula? No, I don't handle my tarantula. My tarantula is I actually have a giant Brazilian white-knee tarantula, and that thing is vicious. If I actually go in there with the tongs and kind of mess with the tongs, it'll actually bite the tongs, which is kind of crazy. I do not handle that thing. As a matter of fact, hey, we got another super chat. Thank you. Another super chat for 25 minutes. All right, so 25 minutes. We'll go up to 2 hours and 20 minutes. All right, and the other 5. All right, so 2 hours, 25 minutes. We're at 154 right now. All right. Whew. All right, yes, I do not handle my tarantula. So yeah, as a matter of fact, on that tarantula, the Brazilian, the giant white knee actually has fangs that are like a ½ inch long, which is kind of great. You do not want to get bit by that tarantula. That thing is crazy. All right. How do you decide what is the best financial investment in ball pythons? That is a very good question. So I would say diversify your investment. Don't put all your money in one basket. So if you actually would have, when I started in ball pythons, if I would have actually took a loan out for $45,000 and bought a scaleless head, let me tell you, I'd be pretty sad now 5 years later when the scaleless head pretty much crashed and it's just a few $100s. Although if you actually think about it, you're usually constantly producing hatchlings along the way. So even if something really crashes really super fast, especially if you have a male and it's co-dominant, a lot of times you can actually produce enough hatchlings over the years, even if it crashes, to recoup your initial investment. So it's not too bad. What other exotic pets do you own? I actually did a video showing you all my pets all around my house. I think it's called See My 300 Pets or something like that. So I have quite a few. I actually have I'm down to just one Pac-Man frog. I have my giant Brazilian white-knee tarantula. I have my ball pythons. I have my reticulated pythons. I have dogs, cows, ducks, chickens. I have a whole bunch of stuff here around the fire. I have an aquarium with African cichlids. So yeah. But I'll let your wife know you're going to be late for dinner. Yeah, she knows I'm doing the live stream. I'm like, all right, stay off the internet. I'm doing a live stream, so she definitely knows I'm down here. Go for 12 hours, yeah. $1 a minute, I might go for 12 hours. Yeah, I didn't really plan on going for 12 hours, but you know, I can live on Coca-Cola, so what are your thoughts on live versus thawed? Yeah, so I actually started on frozen thawed, and it's kind of a challenge feeding frozen thawed. And for a while, when I started breeding rats, I realized that if I actually just popped a live rat in every single tub, that a lot more of my snakes would eat on a consistent basis feeding live. And then I had one of my snakes get bit really bad from one of the rats, and I decided, all right, I'm never going to do live again. I'm going to go back to frozen thawed. And I don't know, I've been kind of doing mostly frozen thawed as much as I possibly can. Frozen thawed or fresh kill. And then if I have some really super stubborn snakes, I'll actually do once in a while, I'll do a live, but I try not to do live just because of the risk to the snake. And I don't know, it's just a personal preference for me. I'd rather kind of take my chance with a snake not eating versus potentially getting bit, especially, you know, if you're feeding live, and a lot of times it goes so fast and really quick, and it could just take 1 second and a snake could lose an eye. Even if you're supervising, you could potentially injure that snake. So that's why I don't really Really do like. What's my most expensive snake? I would say, as a matter of fact, if I was to sell everything, I don't know, maybe Lucy. She's like 100-pound reticulated python. Maybe I don't even know what I'd sell her for. Maybe my pastel spider desert ghost female would be a really expensive snake. If I actually sold her ready to breed, and I don't know how much she is, like almost 3,000 grams, I could probably get a lot of money for that snake, which would be kind of crazy. Let's see, I bought some heat tape from Reptile Basics, and after a couple of read, it actually burnt pretty bad, even plugged into a thermostat set to 90. Oh, that's weird. So something must have been wrong with your thermostat. So yeah, so if you have a thermostat set to 90, that heat tape shouldn't burn. As a matter of fact, one thing that could potentially cause your heat tape to overheat is if you didn't have your thermostat probe close enough to your heat tape. And what I actually do is I take the thermostat and I tape it directly to the heat tape. Another 5 minutes. Can you show us one of the most expensive snake that you mentioned? Yeah, I can show you that snake. So yeah, I would definitely take your probe and tape it directly to your heat tape so you don't have that differential. So keep in mind, if you have your probe close to the heat tape, like on your tub or in your tub, the heat tape keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter until the probe actually gets to 90 degrees or whatever you have it set at. So potentially that heat tape could really increase and decrease temperature until it could really super overheat, you know, between the time that the probe actually gets to the point or it gets up to 90 degrees. So a lot of people say you shouldn't put the probe right on the heat tape, but I think you should because it always keeps the heat tape at a maximum of 90 degrees. All right, I'll show you that snake. Pastel spider desert ghost right over here. Yeah, I was sitting down too long anyways. I need to get up and stretch. All right, this girl, she is, I don't know if she's gonna lay eggs or not. She's getting pretty big. She might lay eggs this year, but take a look at that beauty. That is my pastel spider desert ghost female. She was born in 2016, 16, 17, so she's like 4 years old already, which is kind of crazy. So she looks like she's big enough to lay some eggs, but I don't know. She's kind of, look at how she's balled up, which is kind of crazy. She's a little bit skittish, that's why she's kind of balled up in a ball. Oh yeah. She's a beauty though, when she stretches out. She has a lot of really pretty yellow in her as an adult. All right, let's see. I'm going to pull out Bubbles. I don't know if Bubbles is going to lay this year. She laid really late last year. She's got some pretty good size, but I don't know. This is probably my second tamest ball python next to Bobby. Probably even tamer than Bobby. She'll just sit on my shoulders for hours and hours without any problem at all, which is kind of crazy. All right, what would you add to a super faded colored snake and bring back some contrast or make colors pop back up? So it really depends on the combination as far as what you can actually add to it. So I'd say if you're looking at pastels, sometimes the pastels can fade out, but if you add fire to a pastel and make the firefly, it seems like it can really hold its color over the long haul. The firefly is a lot better than just the pastels. Have you ever been scammed ordering an animal online? Actually, I tried to buy a tarantula from Nigeria back when I didn't know anything about scams, and I actually paid for it with PayPal. And you know, the whole Nigerian scam with animals, they're like, oh yeah, it's actually your tarantula's stuck at the airport. We need another $35 to get it through customs, and then you keep it a little by little by little until you're way in over your head, and you never do get the tarantula. And what I actually did is I went over to PayPal and just submitted a claim. And as soon as I submitted that claim and told them, hey, I got scammed from this Nigerian pet scam, they like instantly refunded me all my money through PayPal, which was pretty awesome. Let's see. I bought a Herpstat 6, haven't even plugged it in, have a bunch of single thermostats that are running my individual heat pads. Yeah, so you can, well, so what I actually like to do, it really depends on what you're doing. So you can actually take one heat controller and control a whole rack. But the problem is you take the probe and you put it in the middle of the rack. Then you have a heat differential on the top and the bottom where it's a little bit colder than your set point. And that works pretty good for like a hatchling rack or a grow out rack. What I actually do for my females is I have a separate thermostat on every single level, all the way up and down my rack. So I have all my females dialed in at the proper temperature at 90 degrees because, you know, your eggs depend on it. So I kind of overdo it with, yeah. So you know, personally, I would probably do as many individual heat controllers as you can to really control every single level. How do I go about purchasing one of your snakes? Yeah, I should have more snakes available probably mid-summer, mid to late summer as far as hatchlings. Probably not until July, something like that. I'll list them over on Morphmarket. All right, yeah, so I'm behind on these questions. Yeah, purple passions can be pretty purple. How many snakes do you own? That's a good question. So, in fact, for my video Monday, what I'm thinking about doing is showing every single snake here in my collection, and I'll have to count them to see how many I have. I'm thinking I have maybe about 42 now. I think I was up to 45, and then I just sold a few scaleless head females to free up some cash here at the end of the year before I get into the next part of the year. But so I think I'm down to about 42, 41 maybe. I'll have to go through and count them as far as how many snakes. And those are just my breeders and my grouts. I'm actually breeding 23 females this year. So I could get potentially, I could actually fit 155 snakes in this room. So hopefully I won't get more than 155. As a matter of fact, well, I actually sell them so fast now that I don't really build up a lot of snakes here in my reptile room. All right, let's see. What would I recommend from ARS 5520 or 70 series? So, you know, for long term, for pretty much the life of the snake, I would go with an ARS 70 series. But a lot of times with hatchlings, if you bought a hatchling, a 70 series may be a little bit intimidating for a hatchling. What you could do is you could actually get the 70 series rack and then maybe put a small hide on the corner of a rack. You could probably do something like that, or put a lot of substrate and then dig out a hole in the back where the hatchling could go. But sometimes hatchlings can get a little bit intimidated, you know, like a 70 series rack. So it really depends on the size of your snake as far as what you buy. But as far as like the long-term permanent enclosure for a full-grown adult ball python, you could actually do a 70 series. Did I ever see a highway desert ghost? I think I might have seen that combination over on Morphmarket, maybe, but I can't quite remember what it looks like off the top of my head. Will you be making more bamboo calicos? Yes, so I am breeding my bamboo calicos. Hey, wow. All right, thank you. Wow, 50. Wow, a 50. As a matter of fact, I think that's the biggest super chat that I've ever had on my channel. That's incredible. Whoo. All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you for the super chat. We're doing an all-nighter. All right. Yeah, I'm way behind on the questions. Yeah, lots of questions. We still have 79 people on. That's pretty incredible. Yeah, so I am breeding my bamboo calico to, I think, 4 females, which is quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I'm actually holding back a bamboo calico pastel pinstripe. So that one will be a future breeder. Probably not this next year, but the next year after that, till I'll make some pretty amazing combinations with that one. Should I worry about California laws? Yes, always worry about California laws. Those guys are crazy over there. I heard California, they're thinking about getting rid of all gasoline cars and going all electric. That is crazy. Those guys, I don't know where they come up with this stuff. But yeah, you can actually sign up with you can support USARK, which supports ball pythons and reptiles. But yeah, so a lot of people, they kind of get nervous about starting a breeding season. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen these guys with the big reptile zoos and the big breeding operations. And let me tell you, with one stroke of a pen, it can completely put them out of business after all these years and all the work that they put in. So yeah, you can definitely, I don't know what I would do if something like that. Of course, you can, if they outlawed it in your state or put restrictions on it, you could always sell all your snakes. Snakes are always worth something, and all your equipment too. You can almost get the original price back for everything. So I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Do I need a license? No, I don't know of any place where you actually need a license for ball pythons. Do you sell your adults? Usually I don't. Every now and then I'll sell some males. Matter of fact, I'll probably sell my bamboo calico maybe in 2 years, and I'll probably sell my coral glow 100% het pied in about 2 years. Both of them are males. Hey, Mr. Reptiles, what is going on? How are you doing? Do I have a fire escape plan? Yes. I have a big, huge tote, and I'm going to throw every snake that I can fit in the tote, and I'm going to run out of the door with my big tote full of snakes. That is my evacuation plan. Put as many as I can in my car, and it really depends on how much time that I have as far as grabbing as many snakes. Sometimes you don't have much time to get out if a fire is going through really quick. The snake that I have around my neck here, this is a female. This is a Bubbles. She is a pinstripe, just a straight pinstripe. Really beautiful snake, really super chill. As a matter of fact, I was doing my 12-hour live streams. I did 3 12 hours back to back when I was doing this crazy live stream. And I was going through all my snakes, putting them around my neck, and I didn't even know that this snake was so friendly. It was just kind of a random snake that I put on my neck. That I actually bought this in a collection of snakes. And I put the snake on my neck, and it just kind of just sat there for like hours and hours and didn't move. I was just in awe that this snake was so mellow, even more mellow than Bobby, which is crazy. All right, yeah, I'm way behind on questions. I just got my ball python. How long should I wait to hold him? So I like to hold my ball pythons pretty soon after I get them. And probably the first few times you hold them, I'd probably hold them for like an hour or an hour and a half until they completely relax and get used to you as far as holding them. I think it's better to hold your ball pythons more. Can you make money raising ball pythons? You can make an incredible amount of money raising ball pythons. It's kind of like the stock market. The more you invest, the more you get back. Have you ever heard of the gypsy gene? No, I haven't heard of that one. If it all had to come to an end, would I keep Bobby as a pet? Yes, I would keep Bobby as a pet. Yes. And maybe Bubbles. I don't know. Maybe my reticulated pythons. Do I do waiting lists? No, I don't do waiting lists, because if I did waiting lists, I'd probably be out like, 3 years out. And it seems like, as a matter of fact, I actually did waiting lists for a while, and people would put like a deposit on something that it was, you know, possibly would hatch in the future. And the problem is you get down the road, like a year down the road, and people's situations would completely change. They wouldn't have the money, or they'd be going through life changes or something like that, or they buy a bunch of other snakes. And most people, I'd say, would back out because it's such a long time. So usually I just put snakes up as soon as I have them. And then, you know, because, you know, long term is, is kind of, a lot of times you're looking at snakes and you can change your mind in no time at all. You're back. What's up, OD Coffee? Ken Campbell, I did not know you were live tonight. Got in late, but love your live streams. Yes. So I was actually only going to do an hour, but people keep throwing down these super chats like, hey, I'll super chat if you keep going. We're already at 2 hours, 14 minutes on this live stream. All right, we'll keep going. Is breeding ball pythons your main job? So actually, my main job I consider to be a YouTuber. I make most of my money from YouTube, mainly from ad revenue on YouTube, which is kind of interesting. So every time you see an ad pop up on YouTube, I make like maybe about half of a penny per ad over on YouTube, which is kind of crazy. But I have like over on YouTube, I have like 1,100 videos, and I get like probably around 10,000 views a day on my YouTube channel if you actually look at all my videos. So that's where most of my money comes from. Probably my second source of revenue is ball pythons. And then probably third would be super chats over here in my live streams. And then I also have channel memberships I make some money on, and Patreon, make some money on Patreon. I also make some money on merchandise. So you can actually look at some of the t-shirts and the phone covers and the stuff that I have as far as that. Yeah, and then as a matter of fact, I'm actually breeding ducks this year. I'm going to sell the duck eggs, the hatching eggs from my ducks and my chickens, and that's pretty good money working with ducks. So hopefully when those ducks kick in, I'll actually be doing pretty good with my ducks and everything. Can we see the retake? Yes. So Monday, I'm going to post a video showing all my snakes, including my reticulated python. So I'll show every single snake in my collection. That video will come out on Monday. Do I have a room to rent? No, I actually don't have a room to rent. What do I use my cows for? Yeah, so my cows are mainly for just content for my YouTube channel. And technically, I actually had my cows for like a backup emergency food supply. So I'm like, I guess you could call me kind of a prepper as far as, you know, preparing for emergencies and disasters and everything like that. And that's kind of what my cows were for. You know, you can almost feed a small village with just a small herd of cows, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, so if anything happens where nobody can get food anymore, I'll probably be, you know, feeding the whole side of the mountain with my cows and all that. So I haven't butchered a cow yet. Right now, I just pretty much keep them as pets. And if I get too many cows, then I sell a cow for the cash, and I don't really make any money from the cows at this point. YouTube, woohoo, yeah. How do I figure out my price list for hatchlings? So that's a good question. So when you're starting out, you can kind of look at kind of the prices over on Morphmarket and at the reptile shows and everything else. A lot of times, if you're actually selling hatchlings at reptile shows, what a lot of people will do is they'll look at your hatchlings on your table, and then what they'll do is they'll actually go over to Morphmarket and look at the price on their phone, kind of in the back corner. And they'll say, hey, why should I buy a snake from this guy at the table at the reptile show when I could buy the same snake for less delivered to my doorstep tomorrow? So that's one thing you really have to keep in mind. And sometimes there's like a big price range from like the low end to the high end. And it just really depends on the snake and the morph and what you're really doing. Seems like a lot of people really want hatchlings that are bamboos from Bobby. So it's kind of like, you know, because everyone wants a Bobby baby, I can sell bamboos for more than normal than other people are selling bamboos for, which is, I'd say, kind of the exception. And especially when you're starting out, usually you sell at a lower price, and then as you become more popular, you can kind of increase your prices, and there's kind of a range. It's kind of a sliding price range for a lot of your hatchlings as far as what you can get for them. How much did I spend on my rack system? I spent on all my racks and all my enclosures, I spent over $20,000 on all my racks. So I actually did a video on it and added it all up. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't buy it all at a time. I bought it just a little bit, just a few levels at a time over the years. And then I'd sell a bunch of hatchlings, and then I'd buy another rack or part of a rack, and just kept reinvesting the money. So when I sat down and added it up, I was kind of surprised it actually came to over $20,000, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. All right. So I live in the mountains just like you. I never sold online, and it's been challenging to find people to buy snakes. Yeah, so any tips for first-time sellers on Morphmarket? So, yeah, it's kind of hard. As a matter of fact, what I actually did when I first started selling ball pythons, I actually went to reptile shows, my local reptile shows. And it seems like you can do a lot better at the reptile shows starting out versus Morphmarket. What I actually did at the reptile shows is I actually made cards that were like business cards for my YouTube channel. So I'd hand out the business cards, and then it would drive people to my YouTube channel. And then I would kind of build my popularity on YouTube. And then every time I had something hatch, I'd post it on my YouTube videos, and then link that video over on Morphmarket. And between YouTube and Morphmarket and the reptile shows all kind of working together, that seems like what really kind of sold a lot of my hatchlings at the beginning. Let's see. Is getting a ball python for a kid a bad idea? It depends on the size of the snake, and it depends on the kid. So some of these really big ball pythons, like the ones, I actually have some that are like 5,000 grams. And if you actually put them around your neck like this, if you had them with like a toddler or something, I would think it could be potentially a bad idea with a big snake around a toddler's neck. But I'd say if you have kids that are like, I don't know, like 8, 10 years old with enough strength to actually unwrap a snake from others, assuming you have, a snake that's not too big, I would think it would be okay. With ball pythons, I'd say usually they don't get bigger than like bubbles around my neck here. So I think, with kids, with ball pythons, especially if you're buying a hatchling, it definitely won't be a problem with kids. Let's see. What's the best method of euthanizing a badly deformed ball python? Yes. So that is always the question. How do I kill my deformed snake? So what I pretty much use for everything, for my rodents, my snakes, my chickens, and everything, I actually euthanize them with CO2 first and then decapitate them. As a matter of fact, I just processed a rooster, one of my first roosters. Let me tell you, those roosters are so mean. They actually got out and they're like tearing up all my other birds. So I'm slowly going through and euthanizing my roosters. And let me tell you, CO2 is the way to go. They just pretty much just go to sleep, and then you can decapitate them. It's not really that hard compared to other methods, I would say. But most people, it's kind of either way. No matter what you do, it's kind of hard doing it. All right, so what do we want for heat upgrade and tub style for the ARS racks? So for my ARS racks, I actually have just the default heat panels on the bottom of the ARS racks. Do you see the piebald gene fading out in popularity anytime soon? Definitely not. Pies will always be popular. They pretty much have always been popular, and I think will always be. I think the pies have pretty much bottomed out as far as the cheapest price that you can go. They're pretty much almost the exact same price today as they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago now when I started in ball pythons. I don't think they're going to go away. As a matter of fact, when I bring non-snake people into my reptile room and kind of show them all my snakes, I always get the ahs and the oohs from the pieds and the pied combinations. It seems like to be really attractive even to the non-snake people. Let's see. Still 79 people on. Wow. 2 hours, 23 minutes. How long did we say we were going to go with that last massive super chat? All right. Well, we'll just keep going here. All right. I got my first ball python back in January. I love them. It's been fascinating snakes. Awesome. I'm moving only about 30-minute drive. How would you recommend moving the snakes? Yeah. So for just 30 minutes, you could just, what I would actually do. So when I'm actually transporting snakes to like a reptile show, what I'll do is even in the middle of the winter, I'll go out and I'll warm my car up for like half an hour and blasting the heat on high, make sure everything is really hot and warm in the vehicle. And then you can just put them in any type of enclosure. It doesn't really need to be heated if you're going just a short distance. Thank you for everything you do. Sure, yes. Do I have a Morphmarket account? Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I just paid. Believe it or not, I actually have to pay for my Morphmarket. I think it was like $125 a year for the cheapest account over there. You can actually do free snakes, but you're limited in the amount of money you can actually. I think you can only have a maximum of like $700 worth of snakes. And I wanted to post like, I actually listed like a $1,500 snake over there, and I couldn't do it without actually upgrading and paying the $125. But I don't have anything for sale over there right now. I'll probably have some like June or July before I'll have my first snakes that my first hatchlings that I'm posting over there. Can you have a heat light inside an enclosure? Yes, so you can have a heat light. But a lot of times I found out with the heat lamps, it'll actually really dry out the substrate with your ball pythons. So I would suggest an under tank heater, or if you live in a really humid climate, you could probably do even an under tank and an overhead. But keep in mind, a lot of times if you actually have an overhead only, a lot of times you'll struggle with really bad sheds with your ball pythons. Poor Chris just wants to get off live. No, I'll keep going. That's okay. We can keep going. 12 hours. We'll see how long my voice can keep up. What powerhouse males would you buy if I was starting from scratch? So what I would actually do, if I was starting over, I would probably invest in the Confusion Project and probably buy some really big, ready to breed normal females or single gene females and breed it with like a Confusion, acid, or static or something like that. I think you could do really good doing that. It's still pretty good prices for those. It hasn't really come down a whole lot and still pretty popular. Would it be okay putting similar sized males together during the 30-minute drive? Yes, you can put a bunch of snakes together. As a matter of fact, you could put probably males and females all together. I've actually seen some people at reptile shows where they'll take a whole bunch of snakes, like 15 snakes, and they'll put them all in a tub all together and bring them to the reptile shows to show them all off, which is kind of crazy. I don't think they breed. I don't think they'd even lock up over just a short amount of time like that. I haven't even tried Morphmarket, but I think I could pretty easily set up on it. Yeah, so Morphmarket is pretty easy to set up. Keep it going. Yes, I will. I have an under tank heater. I keep my house cold, so I have a heat lamp too. Yeah, so sometimes you have to do that. Yeah, another thing you could do is, yes. So what you actually could do, I've actually seen some people use like a closet, like if you have a walk-in closet or something like that. And as a matter of fact, this room right here where I keep all my snakes, it's only about 200 square feet. Adam, 12 hours, let's go. $20. All right. We're at 227. So, all right. So that'll bring me to, let's go 3 hours. 3 hours. That's at least another 20. All right. We'll go. Woo. All right. We can do it. We can do it. Let's see. Let's see. Let me go back on some of these. Who's your favorite ball python breeder? So, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure if I have a favorite. I like to see kind of everyone breeding their ball pythons. There's a lot of people over on YouTube. I don't know. I like to see, well, Billy from Mutation Creation. I like to see him. It seems like he's always got egg cutting videos, so that's kind of interesting. And then the other guy, I can't even remember his name. There's another guy with lots and lots of ball pythons that he doesn't do a lot of videos. All right, DC, 3 hours and 30. All right, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. You keep throwing it down. We'll keep going. All right. I think my my voice can hold up. All right, so yeah, so I kind of like to watch different people over on Morphmarket. Kevin from Nerd, yeah, he's a character too, yeah. Yeah, everyone. It seems like everyone has their pros and cons as far as what they're doing on YouTube and some of the stuff they're making as far as what they're producing. So yeah. Let's go ride our Harleys and go to the show this summer. All right, Logan. Yeah, so yeah, I'm kind of debating on exactly what shows I'm going to go to as far as going to the summer on my Harley. As a matter of fact, there's actually a motorcycle ride coming up here in Colorado in the middle of May. It's like like a homeless veterans support ride or something like that, where you ride to support the homeless veterans or something. It's in Colorado Springs, so it's in the middle of May too. So thinking about going to that ride. I might go to some reptile shows. As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking of organizing maybe some kind of a short ride in the kind of like, maybe we can leave at like 10 o'clock, like maybe 20 miles away from a reptile show, and all get together and then ride to the reptile show all together as a group, which would be kind of interesting. Although I've never rode with a lot of people, it might be kind of interesting, especially if you have a lot of different bikes riding together. All right, how can I get my male who wants to breed back on food? That is a good question. So if you're trying to get your snakes back on food, I would definitely clean your substrate often. A lot of times, if you have old substrate, a lot of times that'll put them off of food. Like if I go through and change out all the coconut husk substrate, it seems like most of my snakes will come back on food after that. And a lot of times you can actually kind of coax them with a live rodent and then follow them up with a frozen thawed. Sometimes you can actually maybe switch to like a really big jumbo mouse just for one meal. A lot of times, like a frozen thawed jumbo mouse will get them back on food, and then you can switch back over to rats. How many ball pythons do you have at your facility? I'm down to just my breeders and my holdbacks. I think I have about 40, low 40s, something like that. I think like 42 ball pythons here in my collection. Now this year I'm actually breeding 23 females, which is pretty crazy. So I think I probably have maybe 30 females or something like that. Let me tell you, if they all laid in a year, I'd get an incredible amount of ball python hatchlings. Coming in on a ride like that. So it'd be interesting to see. I haven't even got my bike on the road to see if it, leaks oil or if it'll actually drive. I started up and I can drive a little bit back and forth in my garage, but we're just like completely snowed in. I'm like going through and fixing up a bunch of stuff on my bike and kind of doing upgrades. Heat tapes and saddlebags for Bobby. Yeah, I was thinking if I brought my bike to a show and I brought Bobby, probably I'd have someone drive Bobby in like a vehicle or something like that and meet me at the show as far as meeting up with Bobby. I probably wouldn't bring Bobby on my motorcycle. I'd be afraid something would happen on the road with Bobby, or he'd get too cold or something. My favorite supermorph. That is a good question. So I really like the super pastel. Seems like it works really well with a lot of other combinations, working super pastel into pretty much anything. And it's pretty cheap. You can get super pastels pretty inexpensive, working it into a lot of other combinations. It's $450 for 2019 female gravel, 1,000 grams worth it. Yes. Yeah, $450. That seems like a really good deal. If you can be sure it's a gravel and not a yellow belly or something like that. So even I've actually seen, so I've actually seen, big normals sell for $450 for a really big, and 1,000 grams, that's like a sub-adult. So yeah, I think that would be a really good deal. All right, let's see. So my male hasn't been eating for 3 months now, has been sitting in the cold side of his enclosure. My female's been eating like crazy. They're both around 8 months old. Yeah, so sometimes, usually right around 8 months old, a lot of times they'll come up against like the 1,000-gram wall, sometimes around 800 grams, something like that. A lot of times they'll definitely go off of food, sometimes for like months and months when they get to that size. So it's kind of crazy. A lot of times I'll just offer every single week. I won't really worry about it. And I'll just kind of wait on them and just keep offering every single time. Bobby and a sidecar. Yeah, I probably won't get a sidecar for my chopper. It's kind of set up kind of like a retro old school chopper style. Probably won't get a sidecar, but that would be kind of interesting, getting a sidecar for Bobby. I probably won't get any saddlebags either. I just have like a sissy bar with a bunch of smaller bags up on the sissy bar, which is pretty cool. Actually, I just upgraded my lights to LED lights on my motorcycle, which is pretty awesome. All right, earlier this year, I probed some females, and one of them that turned out to be a male had been locking to a male. I'd never seen that before. A male locking with a male. Of course, I never put two males together long term, so it's kind of interesting because that could kind of trick you too. You're thinking you're having a male and a female, you see them lock up, and potentially you could have them confused. As a matter of fact, I might go through some of my snakes that have never laid eggs. I actually got there. I don't know, they've locked up with some of my males. I might double check to see if they're females or males. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's a poker run. Want to get over the fear of snakes. Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of people are really interested in ball pythons, and a lot of people really can't get over their fear of snakes, which is pretty unfortunate. Oh, let's see. Going back on some of these older questions here. What kind of morph was your first ball python? Yeah, so as a matter of fact, when I first started in snakes, I started getting a whole bunch of snakes that were just kind of random snakes. I actually started with king snakes. I started with an Australian Woma python and a bunch of just random snakes. I didn't really know anything about ball pythons, and I decided to get some ball pythons. So I went to the NARBC in Tinley Park, and my very first ball pythons was a pair of pieds. I got 2 pieds, a male and a female, which was my very first ball pythons, which pretty much started me down the road. And then pretty much what I did over the years, I unloaded all my snakes and just had my ball pythons. And I don't do anything except ball pythons, except my reticulated pythons. Are your males and females in different racks than your males when you're not breeding? So you can mix them up. You can put males next to females. It shouldn't matter at all, the males with the females, as far as being in the same rack in tubs side by side. So some people say that you should keep them in a separate rack, because they can kind of interfere with the pheromones or something. I don't think it really matters if you actually keep the males and the females in the same rack. As a matter of fact, Bobby here is right in the middle of all my females. as far as the rack. He's the only male in there. The only reason I keep my females in this rack over here is because it's bigger tubs and I have bigger females that need the bigger tubs. Most of my males are smaller. Do you have any eggs yet? No, don't have any eggs in my breeding season yet so far this year. So my voice is starting to go out. All right, so I think I'm going to go 5 more minutes. I don't want to lose my voice. When I did the 12-hour live streams, I lost my voice and I was out for like a whole week. And it seems like ever since then, my voice hasn't been the same. All right, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. We'll go to 2:45. 6 more minutes. All right, because keep in mind, we have to do a live stream tomorrow. I don't want to lose my voice for the live stream tomorrow. All right, I have a question. Shoot. All right, go for it. I'm looking back at some of these older questions to see how do I set up the ambient temperature? That's a good question. Way back here, some of my older ones. So the ambient temperature, what I actually do is I use a space heater for my ambient temperature, and then I set it up to a greenhouse thermostat. For a while, I was using those jumpstart thermostats on my space heater, and I found that a space heater will actually burn out those jumpstart thermostats. I went through like 3 of them before I realized that the space heater is too much for a jumpstart thermostat and it'll burn it out. So what I actually did is I went to one of the greenhouse. It's like a mechanical dial thermostat that I plug into my space heater. And then what I do is I have 2 fans on either side of the room that circulate the air in my room here for the ambient temperature. That's how I set up the ambient temperature in my reptile room here. When is tomorrow's stream? Tomorrow it's going to be at 6 p.m. But keep in mind we spring forward tonight, so it'll actually technically be at 5 p.m. sprung forward to 6 p.m. Don't forget the time change. And I'll see if I can go. We'll see how long we go tomorrow. All right, so 5 more minutes on this live stream. We'll go to 2 hours and 45 minutes. Whew. I live in Colorado. I love to pick up a snake from you. Yeah, so sometimes I do meet up with people and sell snakes. A lot of times, like when I'm going down to Denver, Denver's about an hour from my house. I'll actually meet up like at a Home Depot or something, like meet in the parking lot, and we'll, I'll sell a snake over there, which is kind of interesting. Sometimes I'll actually meet people. Let's see. Male pies can be fussy. It seems like the pies can be fussy eaters compared to a lot of the other snakes, as far as what I've seen. It seems like a lot of my pies really prefer live only compared to others. But it's kind of weird because my female pie, she seems like she kind of, once she reached 1,000 grams, she only wanted live up until she was like 1,500 grams. And then she kind of switched, and now she'll pretty much eat anything. She'll eat frozen thawed easily. Would you seal me an adult female lemon blast? Yeah, I usually don't do I don't do like a reserve list or anything like that, but I'll definitely let everyone know when I have some hatchlings for sale. I usually have a whole variety, anything from normals all the way up to multi-gene combinations. I'll probably definitely have some lemon blasts here this year. I'm a big fan. Thank you for being a fan. Live near Fort Collins, willing to drive for the right snake. All right. Yeah, Fort Collins, that's probably about 2 hours away from my house here. Maybe, yeah, right around 2 hours, I'd say. Hour and a half to 2 hours. Around how much do those greenhouse thermostats cost? I think they were like $50 or something like that, 50 or 60 for those greenhouse thermostats. As a matter of fact, I actually got them for $35 once, and then it seems like the price went back up. They're pretty rare as far as actually finding them. They're like a little box with a clear plastic cover that lifts up, and then on the bottom of the box, it kind of has this coiled, it looks almost like a wire that's coiled on the bottom. of the greenhouse thermostat. And you just plug in on the end of the cord, you actually plug in your space heater that way. So that's what they kind of what they look like. When breeding pied to het pied, does it matter which snake is which? Nope, it doesn't matter which one is which, pied to het pied. When someone comes to collect a snake, do you like to show off your collection? No, my family really doesn't like visitors at the house. So I'd say pretty much every time is I actually go somewhere and meet someone in person. As far as, yeah, we really don't bring people up to the house. When do you stop feeding your females during the breeding process? So I keep feeding as long as they'll keep eating. So I'll actually keep feeding pretty much through the whole breeding process until they really start getting super fat and full of eggs, when I know for sure they're not going to eat because they're just so, you know, they get really super big and fat from all the eggs. And at that point, it's like they really can't fit a rodent in their body because they're so big, and I'll stop feeding at that point pretty much. Let's see. Post a link. My animal house still here. We're going on the live stream. Woo! All right. 2:44. All right, we're going to go for one more minute. Is your wife into reptiles? No. She is not into reptiles. As a matter of fact, I'll actually bring her to the reptile show, and every now and then she'll actually open the display case and pick up a ball python and show it to someone, which is like a huge leap for her to actually pick up a snake and handle it. But no, she's not really into snakes, and her whole family really is terrified of snakes. So if it wasn't for me, you know, she really wouldn't be into snakes at all. And I pay her to do the reptile shows. I pay her like $100 a day to help me at the reptile show, so she's making some money helping me with the snakes, which kind of helps to overcome her fear of ball python. So is your snake room connected to your house? Yes. So this is the basement of my house. So it's kind of a as a matter of fact, this used to be where I kept the dogs before I kind of built the heated, air-conditioned dog house that I have outside. They actually used to stay in this room, and they pretty much tore this room up. I had to pull up the carpet and then put in like new flooring and kind of really deck out this room before I brought the snakes in here. But it's kind of like this level is not really considered a part of the house. As a matter of fact, in the square footage of the house, they don't really include the basement because it's kind of like a walkout basement, which is kind of weird. It's a really big basement down here. What would I get if I bred a banana with a pastel banana? Very good question. So you would get 25% of the time you get super bananas. 50% of the time you would get bananas, 25% non-bananas, and then out of all those, 50% would be pastels, right? So you get pastel bananas, pastel super bananas, you would get pastels, you would get some normals too, a small percentage of normals. So you can actually go over to the genetic wizard and plug it in, and it'll show you all the numbers and the statistics as far as the odds that you would get on those. Have you ever had a snake escape? Yes, I actually had one snake escape and I never found it. Actually, that was a little tiny, super small king snake, skinnier than a pencil. And it got out once and I found it on the floor, put it back in the enclosure. I actually had it in these ARS racks, and the ARS racks had too big of a space between the tub and the rack for a really super skinny California king snake like that. And I got out the second time. It was like probably 3.5 years ago now. And I did not find that snake. It's gone in the house. I don't know what happened to that snake. Bubbles is window shopping. Yeah, Bubbles. This is Bubbles, my pinstripe female. Probably my tamest snake, even tamer than Bobby. Look at that. I don't know where Bubbles came from or what her history was. I actually bought her in a collection of snakes. Some guy sold me, I think it was 8 or 9 females all together. Some of those females are super skittish, and for whatever reason, Bubbles, it might have been like a family snake or something, I don't know, with a bunch of kids poking at the snake for its whole life or something. And I just found out in the last live stream, which was what, 5 months ago, I was just randomly putting snakes around my neck and found out that Bubbles was super tame. So so that is pretty much it. I can definitely feel in my throat that I'm starting to lose my voice. I don't want to lose my voice because I still have to do videos every single day. I think I'm going to cut it off here at 2 hours and 48 minutes, 55 seconds. So we'll definitely do another live stream tomorrow at 6 p.m. Don't forget to move your clocks forward tonight. So technically it's at 5 p.m. Jump forward to 6 p.m. I'll see you there. I'll go at least an hour unless people start super chatting like crazy, and then I'll probably go into the night like I'm doing tonight. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for hanging out tonight on my live stream, and I will see you tomorrow.